Chapter 370. At night, the starlight shone on the unicorn forest. It was quiet. The candlelight in the central tent flickered. Qin Yin's beautiful face was calm. She held the golden scroll with the imperial edict in her hand. She looked at the officials in the tent and said, Feng Jixing Linmuyu and Xiang, you are all seriously injured. We don't know what the demon race is doing. Let's discuss what we should do next. Su Muyin had just rushed over from Lanyan City. His face was still covered in dust. He cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, I think we should follow the Iha nation's strategy to resist the demon race. What strategy? Qin Yin was surprised. When Long Qianlin led the 200,000 soldiers of the Iha nation to guard the Qinling Mountains, Qin Yi ordered the rest of the generals to conscript the people and build a city wall along the 100-ridge city. They called it the Steel Wall. They will rely on this wall to resist the demon race. After all, we all know that the demon race is not good at attacking cities. Steel Wall. Steel Wall. Qin Yin frowned and repeated it twice. She blinked her eyes, looked at Su Muyin and asked, Grandfather, are you saying that we can also build steel walls along the banks of Daojiang River and connect the 7 great fortresses to defend against the invasion of the demon race? Yes. Su Muyin nodded. Your Highness is really smart. You understood it immediately. Tang Lan frowned and said, Your Highness, it is necessary to build the steel wall, but, after all, the Empire has experienced the chaos of the Iha nation and the Battle of Winterfrost City in the past 3 years. The national strength has long been reduced to half of the strength of the Radiant King. The construction of the 1,000-mile steel wall will consume a large part of our national strength and people's strength. Su Muyin replied, Your Highness, this old subject has already asked the officials of the Ministry of Revenue to calculate the cost. To build an 800-kilometer-long steel wall, it will cost around 500 million Jin coins. This is indeed a large number, but, as everyone knows, the Seven Seas Province and Cloud Province have not experienced any wars for decades, so they are very wealthy. The treasuries in the various places are also very abundant. Therefore, this old subject believes that the Seven Seas Province and Cloud Province will each spend 200 million Jin coins, and Lanyan City's national treasury will spend another 100 million Jin coins to recruit people to build the steel wall. Qin Yin nodded with a smile that refreshed one's heart. She raised her head and said, Duke Lan, the Empire is on the brink of life and death. There's no room for so many misgivings. I believe Duke Lan won't be stingy, right? Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, If your Highness decides to build the steel wall, this old subject will naturally not object. 200 million Jining coins will be shipped to the capital when your Highness needs it. And Qin Yin smiled and said, Then it's decided. I will immediately draft up an edict to call on the people of the Empire to actively participate in the construction of the steel wall. As for the funds and other details, I will leave them to Grandfather and Duke Lan to handle. The 2 dukes bowed in unison. This old subject obeys your Majesty. That's good. Qin Yin stood up, tied the belt of the Empress's cloak, and said, It's very windy at night. Both dukes, don't catch a cold. I'll go take a look at the injured brother you. Respectfully send off your Majesty. Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, and the rest personally led their men to follow Qin Yin and protect her. When they arrived outside of Lin Muyu's tent, Qin Yin stopped, turned around and said to everyone, All of you will stand guard outside. No one is allowed to enter without my orders. Wei Chou cupped his fists and said respectfully, Yes, your Majesty. Zhang Wei said, Your Majesty, the wind is strong at night, and the sounds in the tent can't be heard clearly from outside. Your Majesty need not worry. Qin Yin couldn't help but blush. Sir Zhang Wei, do you want to continue working as a corporal? Zhang Wei hurriedly said. This lowly general doesn't dare. This lowly general won't speak anymore. This lowly general will go on night patrol, and the safety here will be handed over to Sir Wei Chou. He. Qin Yin looked at him helplessly. Zhang Wei was such a person. He was extremely upright, but he was also an extremely loyal general. From the chaos in Lanyan City until now, everything had been proven. Qin Yin opened the tent door and walked in. She turned around and sealed the door to prevent the cold night wind from blowing in. Lin Muyu lay quietly on the bed. There were injuries all over his body, Qianfeng's wind attribute martial arts were extraordinary and too strong. It was already very fortunate that he was able to survive that storm. The people from the spiritual medicine department had already finished dressing his wounds. At this time, Lin Muyu was sleeping soundly, but his eyebrows were slightly furrowed. It was unknown what he saw in his dream. Qinyin smiled sweetly and gently held his hand. It was as if as long as he was by her side, her heart would be at peace. Not long after, Qinyin fell asleep on the side of the bed. When Lin Muyu woke up, she saw Qinyin lying beside her. There was a faint smile on her beautiful face, but it was unknown what she was dreaming about. Her hair brushed past her cheeks, and her long eyelashes trembled lightly. She had once been the pearl of Qinjin's palm, and was doted on by everyone. But now, she had to shoulder the heaviest burden in the world. When the empire was torn apart, Qinyin ascended to the throne, and very quickly, a tribulation that would last tens of thousands of years. The demon race descended from the heavens. It was unknown whether the heavens doted on Qinyin or mistreated her. Lin Muyu gently touched her face with some heartache. Instantly, Qinyin slowly woke up. She opened her bright eyes and looked at Lin Muyu. She smiled and said, "You're awake?" "Yes." Lin Muyu smiled lightly. "Why did you fall asleep just like that? If you're sleepy, you can go back to sleep." "No, I want to stay here," Qinyin said with a pout. "Okay, then I'll stay here." Lin Muyu stretched her arms and felt the wounds all over her body quickly healing. This should be the healing power of the profound spirit ruler. After all, even the best medicine wouldn't have such a shocking healing speed. "Xiaoyin, is there any news from the demon race?" "No, we don't know if Qianfeng is dead or not." "He won't die." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and looked at the big tent. "My 7 glorious stars transformation isn't enough to kill him, but it should be enough to make him lie in bed for 7 or 8 days. Before he fainted, he saw Qianfeng's miserable state. Countless stars bombarded Qianfeng's body. Even if he didn't die, he would still be half dead. If he had even 20% of the power of the 7 luminaries demon emperor, then the power of the 7 glorious stars transformation would be on a completely different level. If Qianfeng were to take a full set of the 7 glorious stars transformation, he would definitely die. Qinyin pursed her red lips and said, "I don't know when this calamity will come to an end. Grandfather suggested building a steel wall along the Daojiang River to protect the empire's territory. I've already agreed. It will cost about 500 million Jining coins." "And that's fine." A trace of passion appeared in Lin Muyu's eyes. What are you thinking about?" Qinyin asked with a smile. Lin Muyu was startled. She looked deeply at her and said, "I'm thinking about when we can no longer be so passive. We can kill our way back to the Winter Ridge province and the Clear Sky province, and reclaim the land that the demon race has occupied. It will still take a long time. And Lin Muyu nodded and said, "The combat power of the Armored Demon Legion is too strong. If we can't defeat them in positional warfare and field warfare, it will be almost impossible to reclaim the 2 eastern provinces. By the way, is there any news from the Iha nation? How is the battle between Long Qianlin and the demon race going?" "There's no result yet. The battle in the Qinling Mountains is in a stalemate. The demon race can't cross the Qinling Mountains, and Long Qianlin can't break through the demon camp. However, it is said that the Iha nation in the Lingnan has suffered serious losses. That so-called commander, Qin Yi, is issuing edicts to recruit new soldiers from all over the Lingnan region. It seems that Qin Yi is also very afraid of the demon race. That's natural. The demon race is ferocious, and the people of the Iha nation are still human." Lin Muyu looked at the beautiful empress and couldn't help but feel restless. She smiled and asked, "How many people know that you have come to my camp?" "Almost everyone knows that Wei Chou is guarding outside the tent. I have said before that no one can come in without my order." "I see," Lin Muyu smiled and said. "Then Xiaoyin, take off your boots and come to my side." "Yes," Qinyin blushed. After taking off her boots, she took off the empress's robe, and sat in front of Lin Muyu with only a thin dress. She blushed and asked, "And then?" Lin Muyu's heart was beating so fast that she couldn't help but talk nonsense. "Why does it feel like a young couple is secretly getting a room? My brain must be fried. Qingyin giggled and asked, That? What does getting a room mean? That's right. How do I put it? Lin Muyu racked her brain for a way to explain this embarrassing thing. After a while she said, It's a healthy and happy way for a couple to express their love by feeling each other's breathing and heartbeat. Feeling each other's joy according to the rhythm of their emotions. After saying that, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Motherf asterisk Kerr, to describe something like sex in such a poetic way. I am indeed a genius. Qingyin, on the other hand, was confused, but she still blushed and said, Then let's give it a try? How do we feel the breathing and heartbeat? How do we make our emotions move? Do we use our martial soul? Don't, Lin Muyu hurriedly said. Don't use your martial soul. This military bed of mine was shipped from Sungnan province at a high price. If we use our martial soul, it will probably fall apart. Qingyin giggled and opened her arms to hug her beloved. She placed her face on Lin Muyu's chest and said, Promise Xiaoyin that you will never leave Xiaoyin, okay? Yes, I will obey your orders. Lin Muyu smiled and looked at her. Qingyin's beautiful face became rosier and more enchanting. She couldn't suppress the impulse in her heart and slowly raised her face. Her red lips deeply imprinted on Lin Muyu's lips. Hugging Qingyin's soft and hot body, Lin Muyu felt that she was the happiest person in the world at this moment. Dong 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 dong. The sound of war drums suddenly came from outside. Lin Muyu and Qingyin, who were kissing passionately, were shocked. After separating unwillingly, Qingyin blinked and asked, What's going on? I don't know either. Chapter 371. After Qingyin tidied up her clothes and put on her boots, she asked, Wei Chou, what's going on outside? Wei Chou opened the tent door and said, Reporting to Your Highness Empress, it's the sound of drums coming from the east of the river. It seems like the demon race is preparing to launch a large-scale attack, but previously when the demon race attacked, they did not have the habit of beating drums. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Wei Chou, bring my armor over. Let's go out and take a look. Yes, Commander. Qingyin hurriedly said, You've suffered such heavy injuries and you still want to go out to battle? No, I'm just going to take a look. Moreover, it's just a superficial wound. It's fine. In the end, under Lin Muyu's insistence, she put on her armor and mounted her horse. She brought Qingyin, Wei Chou and the rest out of the city. When they came out of the city, they could see the flickering flames on the other side of the river. Countless armored demons were shouting something, but they could not understand it at all. Commander Yu. Suyu brought a group of heavy cavalry forward and said, Commander Yu's injuries are not light. Why did you come out? If the demon race really attack, we have no choice but to come out. Lin Muyu ordered, Wei Chou, prepare the black beech oil. As long as the demon race attacks, let them have a taste of barbecue. Yes, Commander. However, after waiting for a long time, the demon race still did not attack and the drumming gradually stopped. It seems like it's just to distract our attention. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Pass down the order. Send a message to the other 6 fortresses, and let them be on guard at all times. These demon race's actions are too abnormal. Yes, big brother. Qingyin turned and left. Suyu looked at the other side of the river with her beautiful eyes wide open and said, I don't feel like they want to attack. Commander Yu, have you thought about it? The demon race has stationed an army of nearly 200,000 armored demons on the other side of the river. The bodies of the armored demons are so huge, so the food consumption will not be small. But this is Sungnan province and not their supply area. So the demon race's food supply is far inferior to ours. Even if the demon race eat people, there are not that many people for them to eat. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Aunt Lian is right. Anyway, we just need to start building the steel wall. Qianfeng is cunning, he definitely won't give up. Yeah. Suyu looked at Qingyin and smiled. Why is Xiaoyin here too? Qingyin blushed and said, I was just accompanying Brother Yu in his tent, so we came out together. Is that so? Suer's beautiful eyes narrowed, as if she had realized something. She came closer to Qingyin and said in a small voice, Actually, Auntie Ai can tell that Xiaoyin likes you, and you like Xiaoyin. Since it's like that, why don't you ask father to betroth them? If Xiaoyin marries you, wouldn't they be an enviable couple? Qinyin stared blankly, and her face became even redder. What, you can't say it. Su'er smiled. How about Auntie AI help you say it? It's not that, Qinyin frowned and said. I know Auntie AI's good intentions, but now is not the time. The empire has just been established, the Iha kingdom has been divided, and the demon race has invaded our borders. If Xiaoyin gets married now, I'm afraid the commoners will think that the empress is too infatuated with love. Also, grandfather and Duke Lan most likely won't agree. AI, that's right, Su'er sighed and said. Although Yu is the empire's youngest and most outstanding commander, he still hasn't made enough contributions to become a marquis. Let's wait a little longer. Anyways, if Xiaoyin gets together with the person she likes, Auntie AI will definitely support you. Qinyin smiled sweetly. Thank you, Auntie AI. At the side, Lin Muyu coughed and said, Can you guys not treat me as if I don't exist? Su'er smiled and asked, You don't tell me you don't want to marry Xiaoyin? I do want to, but, Lin Muyu said, it's just that it's not the right time yet. After I've pacified Lingnan and chased out the demon race, I'll use this entire empire as a betrothal gift to marry Xiaoyin. Only then will I be worthy of her status. Moreover, if possible, I want Xiaoyin to come back to my hometown with me and marry her there. At that time, we'll set up 1,000 tables and 100 Rolls-Royces to welcome her. Don't even mention how flashy that would be. Su'er stared. You really isn't an ordinary person. Although I don't know what you're talking about, it sounds pretty good. Ha, that's right. AI, the other side is beating the drum again. What the hell? Within the demon race's main camp, within the marshal's tent, a blood-red vortex slowly rose. Qianfeng pressed his palm against the ground, his body upside down. Traces of demonic energy circled around his arms as he used a strange posture to heal himself. At the same time, starlight flashed around his body, and traces of the 7 glorious stars' transformation's power dissipated into the air. After a while, he let out a breath and sat on the carpet. His face had regained some color, and he put on his cloak as he said, Come in. A group of high-ranking demon race generals walked into the tent, their faces filled with worry. One of the demon sect experts cupped his fists and asked, Marshal, are you feeling better? Qianfeng lightly nodded. That Lin Muyu's mysterious power is so powerful. I almost died to that attack of hers. I lost the right general and caused His Highness the Third Prince to die. And it's all because of my Qianfeng's lack of leadership. After returning to the godly capital, I'll naturally apologize to His Majesty the Demon Emperor. I'll listen to him even if he wants to kill me. Don't blame yourself, Marshal. The humans are just too cunning. Everything is going according to my plan, right? Yes, the demon sect expert respectfully said. Every incense stick's worth of time, I'll beat the drum, and the winged people will report that the human army is panicking and fighting. Qianfeng calmly said. If we keep fighting like this for 2 or 3 days, the human army will be exhausted. When that time comes, we'll be able to slowly retreat back to Winterfrost City. Are we really going back to Winterfrost City? Marshal, our army's battle power is still far superior to the humans, right? If we retreat without even fighting, won't we lose a great opportunity? A great opportunity. Qianfeng smiled coldly. We've already lost our spirit in the first battle, and we've even lost His Highness. Moreover, the humans seem to have prepared a lot of black beech oil. Moreover, the meat that the armored demons need to survive is already insufficient. After all, this is the humans' territory, and we can't transport our supplies here. If we stay here, when the armored demons are so hungry that they eat each other, I'm afraid that the human army will cross the river and fight us, and we'll be faced with a crushing defeat. The demon sect expert looked shocked. Humans are really that powerful? What do you think? Qianfeng pursed his dry lips and said, This battle made me understand that it's not that easy to conquer the humans. We can't be too hasty. Moreover, the human generals have famous generals like Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu. It won't be easy for us to win. On the contrary, if we rest and recover in Winterfrost City, we'll have a better chance. What should we do after we return to Winterfrost City? welcome the food from God's capital. Also, Qianfeng pondered for a while and said, order all the armored demons not to eat any humans from now on unless I order them to. Send people to gather the human craftsmen in Winter Ridge Province and Sky Reaching Province. Order the farmers to plant crops and order the craftsmen to forge sharp weapons for me. Also, more importantly, have them build siege weapons for us. I need both projectile vehicles and siege ladders. Once we have siege ladders that can reach the city walls, tens of thousands of armored demons will rush up to the city walls. Humph! The human cities will be breached in no time. The demon sect expert's face was full of respect. He cupped his fists and said, Marshal is wise. This subordinate admires you. Retreat in 3 days. Also, send someone to God's capital to report the situation here to His Majesty the Demon King, and ask His Majesty the Demon King to send Star Sect experts to Winterfrost City. Marshal, you want to assassinate the human commanders? Yes, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu, these human commanders are indeed very strong, but if they meet the Star Sect's 5-star demon sect rankers, they will still be no match for them. Let the 5-star demon sect rankers disguise themselves as humans and approach them, kill them, and bring their heads to me. Yes. Marshal, if that's the case, can we send the Star Sect experts to kill Empress Qinin? If that's the case, the human empire will fall apart in an instant. No. Qianfeng suddenly raised his head and looked at him with an unquestionable determination. No one should try to kill Empress Qinin. Remember, Qinin can't die. I will marry her one day. Your subordinate obeys. How's the situation with Marshal Lei Chong? He's attacking the Qinling Mountains, but there hasn't been any progress. That idiot. Qianfeng smiled faintly. Let him attack slowly. It's best if he stays stuck there forever. I heard that there's a brave and intelligent general in Iha Nation called Long Qianlin? Yes, it's this Long Qianlin who is blocking Marshal Lei Chong. Good. Qianfeng's eyes flashed with excitement. If there's a chance, I want to meet this Long Qianlin. 3 days later, the demon race army slowly retreated. The demon race has retreated. The demon race has lost. We've won. Cheers reverberated throughout the human army. Everyone was excited. After suppressing themselves for a long time, seeing the retreat of the devil race, they felt that they had obtained a chance to survive. In the central tent, Tang Lan, Su Muyun, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and the rest were all there. The demon race has retreated. Qin Yin's beautiful eyes swept across everyone and said, on behalf of the people of the Empire, I thank everyone for your bloody battle, which gave the Empire a precious chance to breathe. Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, this is a battlefield, not a place for Your Highness to stay for long. This old subject respectfully invites Your Highness to return to the imperial capital's Zetian Palace. Qin Yin nodded and said, We can't slack on the matters at the defensive line. Every stronghold will have 30,000 soldiers. The rest will follow me back to the imperial capital. Big brother, you follow me back to the imperial capital as well. After drifting outside for so long, you must be tired. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, Yes. Feng Jixing touched his nose. Your Highness is so biased. I've also drifted outside for so long, eating and sleeping in the wilderness. I'm about to catch a cold, but I don't see any heartfelt words from Your Highness. The group of generals laughed in unison. Qin Yin blushed and said, When we return to Lanyan City, we will naturally reward you according to your merits. General Feng, you don't have to worry. Each army will leave behind a deputy commander to guard the stronghold. The other commanders will lead them back to Lanyan City and set off in 3 days. Also, the matter of the steel protective wall cannot be delayed. Strengthen the supervision, and the sooner it is completed, the better. Yes, Your Highness. The officials cupped their fists one after another. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing looked at each other and smiled. With the demon race retreating, they could finally enjoy a few days of peace. Chapter 372. Before leaving Sungnan Province, Lin Muyu did 3 things. The first was to sneak into Jiangdong at night, capture 5 armored demons who were left behind as scouts, lock them in iron cages, and transport them to Lanyan City. This was requested by Feng Jixing. The second was to submit the design of the soaring crossbow drawn by Qin Xiling to the Ministry of Works. The third was to hand over the command of the 4th Legion to Qin Yan. It was unknown when Lin Muyu would return to the 4th Legion, so she could only let Qin Yan take control of this army first. As for the Temple Army, which had expanded to nearly 20,000 soldiers, it had merged with the Longdan Army Camp. The Temple Army was included in the Longdan Army Camp and was collectively known as the Longdan Army Camp. The journey was long, and it was already autumn by the time the large contingent returned to Lanyan City. Both sides of the road were filled with fiery red maple leaves. Qinin couldn't help but feel a little excited when she returned to Lanyan City. There was a faint smile on her beautiful face. Pieces of fiery red maple leaves drifted down in the autumn wind and landed under the hooves of the Empress and the group of generals. The north gate of Lanyan City opened, and countless officials stationed in the capital came out to welcome them. They chanted, "Long live Her Majesty." Qinin nodded with a smile. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing guarded both sides as they slowly entered the city. Behind them, the carriages of Duke Lan and Duke Yun followed. Under the leadership of Wei Chou, the 20,000 Longdan army camp entered the city at a later time. They were stationed in the camp behind the Temple Army, and shouldered the heavy responsibility of protecting the capital together with the Imperial Guards. The officials followed the Empress into Zetian Palace, where a banquet was held at noon, and a discussion was held in the afternoon. After the banquet, everyone entered the main hall of Zetian Palace. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Chu Yao, Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, and the others were all smiling. Lin Muyu talked with Chu Yao about many things that happened after they parted and found out that Chu Yao had been rushing between Divine Shadow City, Lengxing City, and the Spiritual Medicine Department headquarters in Songnan Province. She had suffered a lot in order to prepare the medicine. On the other hand, Tang Lan didn't look too good. The two brothers, Tang Lu and Tang Tian, had ashen faces as they waited for the Empress's verdict. The merits and demerits of the Battle of Daojiang would be decided at Lanyan City. No matter how unwilling they were, this moment had finally arrived. "Your Highness, Your Highness," the officials shouted. Two maids carried Qin Yin's long dress that was trailing behind her. She had already changed into a brand new Empress's robe. Her long hair was coiled up elegantly, and the Empress's laurel crown was glowing faintly. Qin Yin insisted on wearing a sword. The purple ink sword was hanging at her waist. She placed her hand on the hilt of the sword and walked step by step to the Empress's throne. She didn't sit down and just stood there prettily. She said, "Everyone has worked hard to force the devil race to retreat in the Battle of Daojiang. On behalf of the emperors of the Qin family, Qinin thanks everyone for your support and support." Everyone knelt on one knee in unison. "Long live Your Highness." Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing knelt side by side. Although as a modern person who had transmigrated, he only knelt to heaven, earth and his parents, he felt relieved at this moment. He knew that one day, he might marry Qinin. When he stepped into the realm of the God Emperor, he would obtain the power of reincarnation and bring Qinin back to the original world. At that time, he would have such a beautiful girlfriend, and he might even have to kneel on the keyboard. He needed to get used to it first. Qinin raised her arms majestically and said with a smile, "Everyone, please rise. There's no need to be so courteous." Everyone stood up. Qinin looked at the officials and said with a smile, "In the battle against the demons, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu, the three of you have made great contributions and must be rewarded. Therefore, I have decided to promote Feng Jixing to the rank of first general, and reward him with 100,000 gold. I will promote Lin Muyu to the rank of second general of the state, to control the Longdan army camp, and protect the imperial capital together with the imperial army. I will promote Xiang Yu to the rank of first general of the mighty martial sky, reward him with 200,000 gold, and confer him the title of Marquis of Pingnan." Everyone congratulated. "Congratulations to General Feng and Commander Yu. Congratulations to General Xiang Yu for being conferred the title of Marquis." Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at Qin Yin in surprise. She didn't expect that she would confer the title of Marquis to Xiang Yu. In fact, Xiang Yu's contribution in the Battle of Daojiang River was lower than hers. It seemed that Tang Lan was pressuring her. After all, Xiang Yu was Tang Lan's subordinate. Xiang Yu's rise also meant that Tang Lan's influence in the empire was also steadily increasing. Qin Yin continued. The rest of the generals will also be rewarded. The demons are different from the Iha Empire. They are more ferocious and tyrannical. Therefore, Qin Yin has changed the military contribution system. In the battle against the demons, those who kill an armored demon will be promoted to sergeant. Those who kill 2 will be promoted to centurion. Those who kill 5 will be promoted to captain. And those who kill more than 10 will be promoted to captaincy. Below the king's steps, Wei Chou cupped his fists and smiled. Your Highness, Commander, you killed more than 100 armored demons with just 1 palm strike during the battle against Qianfeng. According to the new military contribution system, Commander Yu is qualified to be promoted to Imperial Marshal. Zhang Wei grinned. I also support Your Highness in conferring Commander Yu the title of Imperial Marshal. He will be in charge of all the troops in the empire. Qin Yin couldn't help but laugh. At this time Tang Lan smiled. Generals, you must be joking. The title of Imperial Marshal is too important. Not only must you be brave and invincible, you must also be resourceful. Currently, it seems that there is no one in the empire who can take this position. There is still a long way to go. Commander Yu still needs more training. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and smiled. You are right, Duke Lan. Lin Muyu knows that I am not talented, and I don't dare to take over the position of marshal. Tang Lan smiled. Commander Yu is too humble. Lin Muyu's eyes signaled Wei Chou and Zhang Wei to stop making noise. Otherwise, the imperial court would not have a sense of seriousness, and it would embarrass Qin Yin. Qin Yin's beautiful face was calm and composed. She smiled and said, however, the retreat of the demon race does not mean that the empire is safe. The empire is still in danger. The demon race is in the east, the Iha kingdom is in the south, and the nomadic barbarians are in the north. I hope that everyone will not slack off. The civil ministers will rule the country, the military will protect the country. Train the army diligently and defend the land to the death. Once we have enough power, we will cross the Daojiang Qinling Mountains and reclaim every inch of the empire's lost land. The 4 seas will surrender, and the world will be united. The common people will no longer have to suffer the pain of war, and will enjoy eternal peace. Su Muyun raised his head to look at his granddaughter. His eyes were filled with admiration. After so many battles, Qin Yin was becoming more and more like a ruler. Not long after, the officials left one by one. Lin Muyu also returned to the Holy Temple. At night, Qin Yin held a banquet in the rear hall of Zetian Palace Hall. She only invited a few people: Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Chu Yao, Wei Chou, and Zhang Wei. Zhang Wei and Wei Chou were very happy to receive the invitation. This represented a kind of recognition from the Empress. Everyone knew that those who attended the banquet tonight were all regarded as confidants by Qin Yin. The candlelight illuminated the rear hall. A few maids served on the left and right side. Soon, a table full of delicacies was prepared. Qin Yin held a jade cup and looked at everyone with a smile. She said, let's not talk about anything else. Shall we have a drink first? Feng Jixing smiled and said, all right, let's have a drink. After downing the cup in one gulp, Lin Muyu smiled and asked, Xiao Yin was supposed to hold a banquet for all the officials in the capital. Why did she only invite the few of us? Qin Yin's gaze was faint as she said, because almost all of you here lost your parents in this war. All of you are fatherless and motherless. Furthermore, Xiao Yin has long regarded all of you as her family. Without all of you, wouldn't this life be very lonely and miserable? She spoke very quietly. This caused Chu Yao, who was beside Lin Muyu, to involuntarily tear up. Originally, Chu Yao had a family and a caring brother, Chu Huayin. But now, she no longer had them. She only had everyone. And Lin Muyu was also alone in this world. Wei Chou and Zhang Wei were the same. It seemed that Qin Yin had pointed out the most painful part of everyone's heart. Zhang Wei drank a cup of wine and said, Zhang Wei is a boorish man. Regardless of whether this is Your Highness's way of controlling people, just based on Your Highness's words, Zhang Wei will never betray Your Highness even if I have to risk my life. Feng Jixing nodded. Feng Jixing agrees. Chu Yao smiled slightly. Xiao Yin and Xiaoxi as a family member. Xiaoxi. Qin Yin smiled gently and said, Xiaoxi is guarding the demon-subduing pass in the west. She doesn't have much time to come to the capital. It's really been hard on her. Lin Muyu said, once the demon-subduing pass has settled down, everything will be fine. Moreover, after Tang Zhen and the saintess of the demon race, Ling Huyan, become familiar with each other, I believe that Xiaoxi will be able to stay in the capital for a long time. Yes, I also look forward to that day. Come, let's drink and eat. Lin Muyu picked up her chopsticks and added a piece of pheasant leg meat for Qin Yin. Since we are a family, we should act like one. Eat more and talk less about national affairs. Haha, that's right. Feng Jixing sniffed the wine in the cup and said, the wine bestowed by your highness is indeed mellow and fragrant. Why don't you reward me with a few jars of wine and let this subordinate bring them back to the tent to enjoy? Qin Yin smiled and said, isn't it forbidden to drink in the army? I brought them for old Zhang. Zhang Wei's eyes widened. General Feng, you're so disloyal. Lin Muyu laughed heartily. However, at this moment, everyone suddenly felt a tyrannical power shrouding down from the sky. They could even hear a voice similar to Sanskrit. The voice was full of majesty and inviolability. Moreover, this power was very sacred. It quickly shrouded the earth like the rising sun. What's wrong? Qin Yin stood up and asked in surprise, what's going on? Outside, an imperial guard rushed in and cupped his fists. Your Highness, it's an oracle. An oracle has arrived in Lanyan City. Ah, an oracle. Qin Yin was stunned. There hasn't been an oracle in the empire for hundreds of years. How could it appear? What's an oracle? Lin Muyu was confused. Qin Yin explained. An oracle is a kind of guidance from the gods of the realm of gods to humans. In other words, the gods of the realm of gods have something to say to humans. Let's not talk so much. Let's go out and take a look. Yes. The group of people ran out of the Zetian Palace and saw a golden light shining in the sky. It didn't look like night at all. A beam of golden light pierced through the clouds. Golden ancient characters lingered around the beam of light, and Sanskrit sounds could be heard. Chapter 373. The oracle's radiance swayed slowly in the air, as if it was searching for something. When Lin Muyu stepped out of the Zetian Palace, the oracle's radiance immediately moved towards her, as if it had found its master. Whoosh! Thousands of rays of light converged on Lin Muyu's body, producing a powerful blast that pushed Feng Jixing, Qin Yin, Chu Yao, and the others far away. It even destroyed a small part of the palace wall. Rays of golden light played on Lin Muyu's armor. He looked up at the sky, his eyes almost unable to look directly at the radiance. He murmured, Brother Demon Emperor, is that you? Sure enough, the voice of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor came from the oracle. Hey, little brother newbie, I didn't expect you to still be alive. You've really shocked me. F***CK, are you disappointed that I'm not dead? Lin Muyu said angrily. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor continued. My divine power isn't enough to support the oracle's transmission for too long, so let's cut to the chase. Demon Emperor, how's your journey in the infinite stars? It's going very smoothly. I'm invincible. Within a month, I killed hundreds of ultimate gods and close to 30 god kings. I refined their godheads and took their palaces and disciples. Who in the heavenly realm doesn't know of my name, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor? However, I met a god emperor recently. He was very powerful and a little tricky. After fighting for 3 days and 3 nights, I finally broke his head. I'm currently healing, so I found some time to use my divine power to guide me to you. Congratulations, Brother Demon Emperor. You must have something to tell me, right? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor nodded heavily. When I killed a god king 7 days ago, I found a soul chart in his mansion. I found many people on the list of reincarnated souls in the Shattered Cauldron realm, but there was no one named Chu Chu. I suspect that Chu Chu isn't dead, so I ordered one of my god kings to search for Chu Chu's soul. He finally found it. Chu isn't dead. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Then where is he? Don't rush. Listen to me slowly. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor seemed to take a sip of tea. He smacked his lips and continued. Chu Chu must have met Luo Lan during the chaos in Lanyan City. He escaped knowing that he was no match for her. He was chased by Luo Lan until he had no choice but to enter a tower that has the ability to pierce through space. I don't know what the tower is called. Chu Chu's last breath disappeared there. If you want to find him, you have to search through that spatial plane. Lin Muyu was stunned. Heaven-reaching tower? Maybe it's the Tower of Babel you mentioned. Well, little brother Ayu, you should cultivate well in the mortal realm. I'm still waiting for you to ascend to the heaven realm and fight side by side with me against the god kings and god emperors of the myriad world. Okay, I'll try my best. Lin Muyu's scalp went numb. The path of cultivation was long. Luo Lan, who was at the first level of the god realm, was enough to kill her instantly, let alone the stronger god kings and god emperors. The light beam suddenly retracted and turned into a stream of light that shot into the sky. The divine oracle also disappeared. In the distance, Qinin, Chu Yao, Feng Jixing and the others rushed over. Qinin asked anxiously, Brother Yu, are you okay? I'm fine. Xiaoyin, let me tell you a piece of good news. Lin Muyu said excitedly. What good news? Chu is not dead. What? Chu is not dead? Qinin was overjoyed. Where is he? What I need to do next is to find Chu. Lin Muyu smiled. So I'll probably leave for a few days. Don't look for me. When I come back, I'll probably bring Chu back. Feng Jixing was stunned. You, who gave you this divine oracle? A friend from the god realm. A friend from the god world. Wei Qiu and Zhang Wei were stupefied. Zhang Wei's face was full of shock as he said, Lord Commander you actually have a friend from the god world. My god, you're amazing. Lin Muyu looked at the confused Qin and smiled. Xiaoyin, I'm fine. Do you remember why I was resurrected? It was because of this friend from the god realm that I was able to survive. Also, the peerless martial arts I have were taught to me by him. Although he has ascended to the god realm and can't help me anymore, he can still send me a divine oracle. Qin pursed her red lips. It must be dangerous to find Chu, right? It's all right. I've been to that place before. Don't worry. Lin Muyu patted Qin shoulder. Let's go. You guys go back and continue eating. Bring me 2 roasted chickens. I'll eat as I hurry. Okay. How could Lin Muyu have any appetite after learning that Chu Chu was not dead? She grabbed the roasted chicken leg and bit on it as she walked out of Zetian Palace. After whistling, Takshu rushed out of the stable and got on her horse. She went straight to the Tower of Babel. With the newly obtained State General's waist token, she left the imperial capital unimpeded. The Tower of Babel was still very eerie. There were whirlpools in the sky, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. There were imperial guards standing guard within a mile of the tower. When Lin Muyu arrived on her horse, an imperial guard centurion came forward and cupped his fists. Oh, it's you, Commander Yu? Greetings, Commander Yu. May I know why you've come to the Tower of Babel so late at night? There's a situation in the Tower of Babel. Her Highness sent me in to investigate. But the centurion was stunned. Legend has it that there are ferocious beasts in the Tower of Babel. There are even man-eating gods and demons. Does Commander Yu really want to enter the Tower of Babel alone? How about this subordinate bring a group of men and horses to accompany the commander in? There's no need. Lin Muyu smiled. It's safer for me to go in alone. Don't worry, General. I've entered the Tower of Babel before. I came back alive then, so I'm even more likely to come back alive now. Okay, then be careful, Commander Yu. Thank you. Someone move aside. Let her in. Go open the door for Commander Yu. Yes. A group of Imperial guards accompanied Lin Muyu to the bottom of the tower and opened the rusty metal door. In the blink of an eye, she hadn't been here for 3 years. Lin Muyu handed Takshu over to the centurion and said, Help me take care of my horse. I'll be back soon. Yes, don't worry, Commander. Dang. Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword and activated her battle energy. Instantly, she stepped into the Tower of Babel with a flash of sword light. As usual, there was no one on the first floor of the Tower of Babel. When she walked up the dusty stone steps to the second floor, she heard an extremely ferocious voice. Oh, it's been a long time since fresh flesh and blood entered the Tower of Babel. This time, which unlucky bastard did the Emperor send in? A phantom rushed over at high speed. Lin Muyu saw it clearly. She suddenly opened her arms and the golden gourd came out of her body and condensed into the wall of the gourd. With a bang, the person crashed into it. Lin Muyu raised her hand and punched through the air. The 7 luminaries' profound energy twisted and directly hit the person's arm with a chaos element of the common people. Ah! She was sent flying and fell to the ground with a miserable groan. Under the light of the dragon spirit sword. It was a woman wearing black soft armor. Her cultivation was around the first level of the heaven realm. Blood seeped out of her arms. Her arms were bleeding from the shock of the first luminaries. How pitiful! Lin Muyu lightly pushed the longsword towards her neck and asked indifferently, "Who are you?" I am Xuemei." There was a cold glint in her eyes. "You are also a subordinate of the Blood Lord?" Lin Muyu asked. "You? How do you know the Blood Lord?" Xuemei's face was full of suspicion. She used the sword light to look at Lin Muyu's military rank and said, So you are a commander-level Imperial General. Kill me. After you kill me, the Blood Lord will have a reason to kill you to avenge me." "Why would I kill you for no reason?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Let's go. Take me to see the Blood Lord. He knows me." You know the Blood Lord?" "Yes." Xuemei stood up and blinked her bright eyes. "Could it be, you are Lin Muyu? Why do I not look like him?" "Yes." Xuemei nodded. A trace of respect flashed in her eyes. "The Blood Lord often mentions you. Let's go. I will take you to see him." "Many thanks." Under Xuemei's lead, Lin Muyu walked up the stairs. There were some fierce wolves on the second floor. Most of them were around 5,000 to 6,000 years old. It was unknown where the Blood Lord Qin Hong got these beasts. There was a group of stone apes around 7,000 years old on the third floor. There were 7 to 8,000-year-old flame-treading beasts on the fourth floor. However, these beasts did not harm Lin Muyu. They seemed to know Xuemei. When they reached the 7th floor, Xuemei lightly knocked on the door. "Blood Lord, someone is here." "Who?" "Lin Muyu." "Oh." The Blood Lord's voice trembled. "Why is this brat here? Let him in." "Yes." Xuemei pushed open the door and bowed politely. "Lord Commander, please come in." Lin Muyu stepped in. She saw the Blood Lord's back facing her. His palm was gently caressing the head of the 10,000-year battle bear. The battle bear was baring its fangs at her to show off. "Lin Muyu greets the Blood Lord." He bowed. The Blood Lord slowly turned around. His face that had been ravaged by time had a faint smile on it. "Lin Muyu, you escaped from Tongtian Tower. Why did you come back? Are you not afraid of death?" Behind the Blood Lord, a few cultivators looked at Lin Muyu with ill intentions. With the spirit pulse technique, she could sense that these people were all at the second sky of Heaven Realm. They were very strong. Once they attacked together, it would be hard to tell who would win. At this time, she could not lose in terms of momentum. Lin Muyu brushed off the dust on her sleeves and said, "I'm not here to cause trouble, Blood Lord. I'm here to find someone." "Oh. Who?" "Chu Chu, the teacher of the Empress." "You mean the white-haired Chu Chu?" "Yes, have you seen him before?" He killed 2 of my generals, and even brought a ferocious hierarch with him. Do you think I have not seen him before?" "Blood Lord, please don't be angry." Lin Muyu hurriedly bowed. "Blood Lord, Chu Chu is an important minister of the Empire. The Imperial Court needs him. I hope that the Blood Lord can do me a favor, and tell me where Chu Chu went." The Blood Lord sneered. "Why should I tell you? Men, skin this brat for me." "Eh." Lin Muyu laughed. Her golden gourd martial soul came out of her body. At the same time, she raised her sword. Golden god binding chains wrapped around the blade, giving off a faint majestic aura. "Wait." The Blood Lord looked at her in shock. "You. Why do you have god binding chains martial soul?" Chapter 374. It's a long story. Lin Muyu's expression turned cold, and she started to talk nonsense with a serious face. "This god binding chains was given to me by the founding emperor. Do you still remember the founding emperor of the Qin Empire? My ancestor, the mighty everlasting celestial emperor. Who wouldn't know him? The Blood Lord was a little excited as he spoke. After all, they were both of the bloodline of the Qin Empire. The Qin family owning the world was the proudest thing in his life. Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Not long after, there was an oracle from the heaven realm. It was the oracle given to me by the Emperor God Qin, who had ascended to the heaven realm. He gave me this god-binding chains and ordered me to protect the empire and this land as a member of the Qin family. I was to be loyal to the Qin family forever and never disobey. As for Chu Chu, as the teacher of Her Highness Qin Yin, I have to find Chu Chu." "What you said. Is it true? How can it be false? Don't you have the ability to read minds? Come, read." As Lin Muyu spoke, she had already pushed the spiritual pulse technique to its peak state. The Blood Lord couldn't read anything. The Blood Lord was a little emotional and said, "Since you are the protector of the empire appointed by the mighty everlasting celestial emperor, I Qin Hong naturally can't stop you. The everlasting celestial emperor asked you to protect Qin Yin. I believe Qin Yin is the emperor that he has approved of. Lin Muyu, follow me. I will bring you to find Chu Chu." "Thank you, Lord Sun, for your understanding." Lin Muyu secretly rejoiced. If she wasn't quick-witted, how could it have gone so smoothly? The Blood Lord pointed at the whirlpool in the air and said, 3 years ago, Chu Chu escaped from Divine Lord Luolan's pursuit from here. The plane that Chu Chu passed through is called the Chaotic World. As for the situation on the other side, I'm not too sure. You'll have to go there yourself to find out. The plane clock of the Chaotic World has not arrived yet. You'll have to wait for about 2 hours before you can pass through. If Chu Chu hasn't been burned to death by the sand of time, you should be able to find him." "Thank you, Blood Lord." Lin Muyu turned around to thank her and asked, "Blood Lord, the Divine Lord Luolan chased after Chu Chu and failed to kill him. Why didn't he vent his anger on you and let you continue to live here?" The Blood Lord smiled faintly. "He didn't kill me because I pledged my loyalty to him." "Pledge your loyalty?" "Yes, Divine Lord Luolan is a Divine Lord with an extremely inflated desire for power. He wants to conquer all the experts in the world, but he also has the pride of an expert. So he won't kill me if I pledge my loyalty to him." The Blood Lord laughed self-deprecatingly. "I'm just an old man who is imprisoned in the Tower of Babel alone and unable to leave. What can I do even if I pledge my loyalty to him? After all, to me, I've lost my dignity long ago." Lin Muyu said, "As long as you can help me find Chu Chu, you'll be a hero of the empire. When I return to Lanyan City, I'll definitely ask Her Highness to write an imperial edict to confer a title on you." "Really?" The Blood Lord's eyes were burning. Of course it's true. While he was in a state of confusion, Lin Muyu used the spiritual pulse technique to read his mind. Sure enough, the Blood Lord didn't lie to her. Chu Chu passed through the plane and entered a place called the Chaotic World. This was true. After a long time, the lightning in the sky suddenly became intense. Dozens of blood-colored vortexes intertwined and reincarnated. The space-time plane had already changed. The Blood Lord pointed straight ahead and said, "The third vortex from the left is the Chaotic World. There's only 30 minutes left. Lin Muyu, hurry up, or else it'll be too late." "And then how can I transmigrate back?" 7 days later, at the same time, which is the third watch period, you have to return to the place you transmigrated from. Cut through the space plane, and you'll naturally be able to return to the Shattered Cauldron world. All right. Lin Muyu leaped and shot into the blood-colored vortex like a sharp arrow. Suddenly, a scorching force came over. It was the time quicksand. This time quicksand was more like the distorting force in the wormhole, making people very uncomfortable. She forcibly stirred up her battle energy and used her battle armor to protect her body from being burned by the quicksand. At the same time, there was a sudden howl in the depths of her high. It was Acatosaurus. Acatosaurus had awakened. Rays of purple light quickly condensed on the surface of her body and turned into dragon scales. It was actually Acatosaurus protecting her master from being burned by the quicksand. Lin Muyu was secretly delighted. In this way, her armor wouldn't be burned and melted, and she wouldn't have to transmigrate to another world naked. That's great. After being baptized by the time quicksand for nearly 5 minutes, her eyes suddenly lit up. She successfully pierced through the plane. Lin Muyu fell into a pitch-black space with her sword. Bang! Her body landed heavily on the ground. Behind her, the blood-colored vortex slowly disappeared, and the plane rift was gone. He slowly stood up and rubbed his painful face. He looked around. This was a wilderness. Everything seemed to be a little distorted. It really looked like the Chaos Realm. Holding the hilt of his sword tightly, he suddenly raised his hand and his spiritual sense rushed out, creating a spatial rift not far away. Howl! A Catasaurus climbed out with a cheer. It wagged its tail, and used its head to rub against Lin Muyu's arm. Little apple. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. We didn't come here to play. We have to find Chu quickly. He should have lived here for 3 years. I don't know how he is. Can you sense Chu's aura? Little apple howled and raised its head. Its small ears flapped, and it let out another howl. Then, it swaggered forward to lead the way. Lin Muyu knew nothing about this place. However, it seemed that a Catasaurus knew this place. It kept howling, but Lin Muyu had no idea what it was howling for. She simply activated the spirit pulse technique, and followed the little dragon to explore the place. The surroundings were barren. There were broken stones everywhere. Not even a blade of grass could be seen. Walking here was like walking on the surface of the moon. Fortunately, the air here seemed to be suitable for survival. Or perhaps Lin Muyu's cultivation had reached a certain level. She was not as dependent on the air as ordinary people. Thinking about it, the green gourd was a plant-type martial spirit. It could provide oxygen, so Lin Muyu did not rely on the air that much. This was probably the reason why. After walking for an unknown period of time, they arrived at a slope. The little dragon let out an angry roar, and all the scarlet crystal scales on its body stood up. This was a roar filled with hostility. Something was coming. Lin Muyu hurriedly held the dragon spirit sword tightly. In the spirit pulse technique, a tyrannical force was quickly approaching. Bang! The ground in front of them was suddenly pierced through. In the midst of the splashing gravel, a huge demonic beast rushed out of the ground. It had no eyes, only a terrifying mouth. With a poochie sound, it bit a huge boulder into pieces. Its long body twisted like a dragon. There were 5 golden lines on its head. It was actually a 5,000-year-old spirit beast. Lin Muyu rushed over with her sword. The God-binding chain's martial spirit shone brightly. A bright star surged on the longsword. She slashed at the spirit beast that had crawled out of the ground. The first appearance of the star. Bang! The blade swept past, and the star crashed into the head of the giant snake. With just one strike, its head was smashed into pieces. A fiery red spirit stone rolled out of the blood. The Acatosaurus shook its head excitedly. It rushed forward and gobbled up the giant snake's meat. Lin Muyu frowned. She picked up the spirit stone, wiped it clean, and threw it into her cosmos sack. Then, she waited for the Acatosaurus to finish eating. She said, "What's next? Where are we going to find Chu?" This giant snake was really too big. The little dragon had only eaten less than 10% of its body. It rushed forward and used its head to push the giant snake's body into the ground. Lin Muyu was confused. She could only go and help. The two of them used their strength at the same time. The giant snake's body fell down the hole they had come from, and the sound of water splashing could be heard. A whoa! The little dragon crouched at the edge of the hole and winked at Lin Muyu. "You want me to crawl into this hole?" Lin Muyu was stunned. The little dragon wagged its tail. There was no other way. She could only give it a try. Lin Muyu jumped into the hole. Suddenly, the sound of wind was heard. The little dragon's cry came from above. This guy's huge body also fell down, and its butt suddenly smashed on its master's head. Lin Muyu wailed, "Damn it!" The giant snake's hole was very long. Lin Muyu fell along with the hole for nearly 3 minutes. Finally, with a whoosh, light appeared in front of her, but it didn't stop. His whole body actually appeared in midair, and then he abruptly fell down. Lin Muyu was stunned. It was at least 5,000 meters high. What should she do? She was definitely going to fall to her death. F***ck. He wailed and looked up at Acatosaurus. I'm going to die because of you. However, she only saw Acatosaurus's pair of big cute eyes. The next moment, Acatosaurus actually opened its claws. With a whoosh, the dragon scales on both sides of its body turned up. The tips of the scales turned up with a trace of misty luster. It twisted its body and actually looked like it was riding on the clouds. Lin Muyu's feet tightened. Acatosaurus was about to hug her. The little dragon raised its head and threw its master on its back. Lin Muyu was still in shock. Sitting on the dragon's back, she was covered in cold sweat. The little dragon could fly. This was something she didn't know. Bang! There was a loud bang from below. It was the sound of the giant snake's body falling to the ground. The giant snake's body was already hard enough, but when it hit the rocks at the foot of the mountain, it still fell into pieces. The little dragon quickly flew down and landed next to the giant snake's body. Awoo! After retracting its scales, it still squatted next to its master like a big dog. Lin Muyu looked around. Using the spirit pulse technique, she slowly opened up her spirit pulse technique. This place was a stretch of green mountains and clear water. The sky was covered with layers of fiery red rocks, and they were densely covered with holes. She could even faintly see some giant snakes digging holes in the sky. What kind of a pain in the ass plane was this? It gave her a feeling that she was about to go crazy. At this moment, suddenly, the sound of hooves came from afar. There was also a fluctuation of aura in the spirit pulse technique. A group of people with not very strong auras rushed over. Chapter 375. Under Lin Muyu's gaze, a dozen people wearing soft armor climbed up the giant snake's corpse with swords in their hands. They waved their battle axes and hacked at the giant snake's body. They cut the meat and bones into pieces and threw them down the corpse. One of the men carried a broadsword and came to the head of the giant snake. He frowned and said, "The spirit stones have been taken. Damn it! Who is it that stole the spirit stones before us? Don't let me Duan find out or I'll kill him." That. Lin Muyu and Acatosaurus stood under the tree in front of the giant snake's corpse and couldn't help but say, "That? Ah?" Duan was startled and hurriedly took a few steps back. "Who are you?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "I am Lin Muyu, someone who just came to the Chaos Realm." Oh. The group of people behind Duan surrounded them, each of them with a vigilant look on their faces. Duan held his broadsword and smiled. "Kid, which galaxy did you come from?" "I don't know, but my world is called the Shattered Cauldron Realm." Shattered Cauldron Realm? Duan frowned and said, "Another person from the Shattered Cauldron Realm." Ah. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. "Sir, is there anyone else from the Shattered Cauldron Realm like me?" "Yes." A trace of lingering fear flashed across De Wen's face as he said, "That old fellow is really not simple. He nearly turned our chaotic world upside down. If it weren't for the 4 spiritual venerables from the Saint Emperor sect defeating him, I'm afraid the chaotic world would have changed its surname to Chu. That person is called Chu Chu, right? You know him?" "No. I don't know him. I've only heard of him." Lin Muyu knew something was wrong and smiled. "Sir Duan, what's the use of digging up this snake's corpse?" This thing isn't called a giant snake, it's called a chaos worm. Why are you asking me these questions?" "Who are you?" Duan asked maliciously. "I told you, I came from another galaxy, but I think this should be what you need, right?" Lin Muyu took out the chaos worm's spirit stone from her Qiankuan bag. It was a 5,000 years old fire spirit stone. She weighed it in her hand and smiled. "Lord Duan, I just arrived here and accidentally killed this chaos worm. If you need spirit stones, I can give them to you. Just treat it as making a friend. I want to transmigrate back to my original world, so I will need a few more days. Please take care of me in these few days. How about this deal?" Devon narrowed his eyes as he looked at the fire spirit stone and smiled. "Young hero, do you know how valuable this spirit stone is?" "I don't know." "Haha, it's worth 100 years of living expenses for a family of 10. "It's all right, I'll give it to you." Lin Muyu raised her hand and threw the spirit stone out. Duan stretched out his hand and grabbed it. His face was full of joy as he said, "Young swordsman Lin Muyu is truly generous." Money is nothing but dirt. Righteousness reaches the clouds. Duan admires you. No, this is just a deal. It has nothing to do with righteousness. Lin Muyu jumped down from the rock with a Catasaurus behind her. She said, I might have to trouble Lord Duan for a few days. Oh right, who are you people? Us. Haha. Duan laughed and said, in the chaotic realm we are called demon hunters. Here. These are my brothers. Come greet young hero Lin. The group of people cupped their fists and said, Greetings young hero Lin. Lin Muyu respectfully returned the greeting and said, Greetings everyone. Duan looked at the military insignia on Lin Muyu's collar, and could not help but ask, Young hero Lin, in your original world, you should be a noble person, right? It seems like you are a general with a high position? Lin Muyu smiled and said, Thank you for your kindness, your highness. I am the commander of a 20,000-strong army in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Oh right, you are called demon hunters. What do you hunt? Look up. Duan and Lin Muyu looked up at the sky together and said, The chaotic realm is a broken star. Thanks to the geniuses of this level, we are able to survive in the sky. However, these damned chaos worms always drill through the sky, causing the gas we need to live to become thinner day by day. Therefore, the people of the first level of the chaotic realm began to hunt these chaos worms. Fortunately, their skin can be made into armor, their meat can be eaten, their bones can be used as medicine, and their spirit stones can be sold to demon sovereigns and spirit sovereigns for large amounts of gold coins. We are the people who specialize in hunting chaos worms. Lin Muyu looked up at the sky and said, Chaos worms live so high up in the sky. Logically speaking, you have no chance of hunting them. Therefore, you can only rely on luck and wait for the chaos worm to fall down. Oh right, Lord Duan, you just said that this is the first level. Does the chaotic realm have more levels? Yes, Duan said. Actually, strictly speaking, this place is divided into the second level of the chaotic realm. The first level is the void, which is the sky above, where the chaos worms live. The second level is here, where the poor demon hunters, mercenaries, and a small number of cultivators live. The third level is the core of the chaotic realm, where the divine king, spirit sovereigns, and demon sovereigns live. Oh right, that choo-choo you mentioned, what's going on? Duan waved his blade and cut off the meat of the chaos worm as he said with a smile. 3 years ago, this choo-choo fell into the chaotic realm. Originally, nothing happened to him. After all, many people have entered the chaotic realm. This is an open plain and we don't kill outsiders. However, this choo-choo provoked the divine king, so he was imprisoned in the chaotic dragon abyss. No one knows if he's dead or alive. Chaotic dragon abyss. Lin Muyu frowned and asked, Then how did choo-choo provoke the divine king? Duan said, The divine king is in the prime of his life. Heh. You're also a young man, so you should know this feeling. When he was in the prime of his life, the divine king set a rule. All young women in the chaotic realm must be pampered by the divine king on the first night before they get married. It just so happened that the daughter of the family that Choo-Choo was staying with was about to get married, but she refused the divine king's pampering, so she was killed by a demon sovereign. Unfortunately, Choo-Choo couldn't take it and killed the demon sovereign with a palm strike, completely angering the divine king, which led to his death. First rule. Lin Muyu curled her lips and said with a smile, The divine king is a dragon and fierce tiger. Can he get the chance to pamper all the women in the chaotic realm? Why not? Duan said. Young hero, don't think that the chaotic realm is very big. Let me tell you, there are less than 20,000 people living in the chaotic realm. After saying so much, young hero, why did you come to the chaotic realm? Oh, I went the wrong way when I was passing through the plains and came here by mistake. I originally wanted to go back to Earth. Earth? Duan frowned. I've never heard of it. Young hero, you're indeed a person who doesn't belong to this world. Since you have nothing to do here, why don't you help us, the demon hunter brothers, kill this chaos worm? And okay. Very soon, Lin Muyu took on the role of a demon hunter, because he still needed Devon to point out the way to the third layer of the chaotic world. After all, he had just arrived here, so he could not act rashly. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to save Choo-Choo, He would also lose his life. Even Chu Chu, who was a first heaven of the sacred region, could not defeat those spiritual venerables, so he believed that he would not be able to defeat them either. When the sky turned dark, a group of demon hunters transported the Chaos Worm's body parts back to the town. It was actually just a small market, and the Chaos Worm's meat was really easy to sell. 1 silver coin for a caddy of meat. And it was sold out in minutes by the poor people with yellow faces. Duan smiled hurriedly and said, "Young hero Lin, I want to go down to the lower realm to sell this fire spirit stone. Since you also want to go down there to see the situation, why don't you come with me?" "Okay." Lin Muyu looked around and said, "Just the two of us?" "Yes." Duan smiled faintly. "The more people there are, the more mouths there are. This spirit stone is a good thing. The fewer people who know about it, the better. And let's go." The two of them didn't ride a horse but walked out of the town. After walking in the same direction for close to an hour, Lin Muyu frowned. In the spiritual pulse technique, he felt an aura following them from a distance. He lowered his voice and said, "Duan, we might be being followed." "Ah." Duan was stunned. "Don't stop, keep walking. How long until we reach the entrance to the lower realm?" "We're almost there. Young hero, don't be scared later." "Ha, I won't." But a few minutes later, Lin Muyu was still stunned. In front of them was a cliff. Looking ahead, there was no abyss or canyon, only an endless sea of stars. This continent was like a broken tile floating in the universe. Looking ahead, they could even see the scene of a planet dying. The wormhole swallowing the star was a very shocking scene. "This is the stowaway path." Duan pointed down, and there was an almost unreal stone staircase leading to the lower realm, like a broken staircase hanging on a cliff. As if seeing Lin Muyu's surprise, Duan smiled awkwardly and said, "Young hero, please don't be surprised. We demon hunters and mercenaries are all lowly people in the lower realm. We don't have the right to live in the lower realm. So if we want to make a living by selling spirit stones, we can only stow away from here." "It's fine, let's go." Lin Muyu patted his shoulder and smiled. "Hurry, we're already being watched. He must have seen you when you took out the spirit stones." "Then what do we do?" "It's fine, we just need to find a place where there's no one and get rid of him." This. Duan nervously put away the spirit stones and carefully climbed up the stone staircase step by step. Lin Muyu followed closely behind, not even daring to look to the right. There was an endless universe there, and there was a mysterious suction force that kept them in a downward direction. If they lost their footing and fell, they would probably float all the way into the universe, right? Chapter 376. The winding path took almost an hour to complete, but when Lin Muyu reached the flat ground, she could not help but sigh in relief. She was really scared to death. In the distance, starlight converged to form a city. Looking closely, it was not starlight, but a bunch of lanterns with starlight. It was very beautiful. "That is the Imperial City." Duan smiled and said, "It is the place where the Saint Emperor and all the spiritual venerables and demon venerables live." "Where is the chaotic dragon abyss?" "The dragon abyss. The dragon abyss is at the core of the Imperial City. To put it nicely, it is actually the place where the Saint Emperor executes criminals. It is said that there is a terrifying dragon in the depths of the dragon abyss. After the criminals are thrown into the dragon abyss, they will most likely become the dragon's meal." "Where is the trading area?" "If we sneak into the Imperial City, we can trade in the chaotic bazaar." "Okay, let's go." "Okay." The two of them had not gone far when the aura behind them got closer and closer. Lin Muyu tried her best to reduce her aura to the minimum. She had fought before coming to this world, so she wanted to take the opportunity to see how strong the cultivators in this world were. Sure enough, the person following them was eager to hunt and quickly chased after them. Clang! With the sound of a blade being drawn, he shouted, "You two, stop right there." Duan was startled and turned around with Lin Muyu. Under the starlight, they saw a tall and sturdy man standing there. He was wearing armor and had a bronze badge on his chest. Duan was scared out of his wits and said, "Oh no! It is a martial venerable. A martial venerable found us." The martial venerable looked at Duan's panicked expression and was very satisfied. He sneered. You two lowly commoners actually entered the lower realm without the Saint Emperor's decree. You are seeking death. Immediately hand over the spirit stone and scram back to the upper realm. I will spare your lives. You are here for the spirit stone, right? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. So what if I am? Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She walked forward with her bare fists and slightly shook her arms. Doqi enshrouded her body and swirled around her, causing her cloak to flutter. She smiled and said, Come, come, come. If you can beat me, I'll return the spirit stones to you. Behind him, Devon was stunned. Young hero, you are a cultivator? Oh my god. The honored martial artist narrowed his eyes. He was in a difficult situation and couldn't care less. He held his saber horizontally and poured his doqi into it. He said in a low voice, You are courting death. Don't blame me. Buzz. The blade sliced through the air, simple and fast. Lin Muyu could even imagine that this blade must have killed a lot of people who had no cultivation. Lin Muyu suddenly stretched out her left arm and condensed the true dragon's power into a shield. With a clang, she forcefully blocked the opponent's blade. Lin Muyu flew forward and a blood-red vortex appeared on her right fist. She didn't need to use the star art to defeat this person. Just the first brilliance was enough. The honored martial artist seemed to realize that danger was approaching. His expression became more and more fierce. He shouted in a low voice, Come, I am not afraid of you. He threw away his saber and crossed his arms in front of his chest to block Lin Muyu's punch. But at the moment she punched out, rays of golden god-binding chains martial soul energy surged around her fist, directly increasing the power of the first luminous. In an instant, the martial venerable's eyes were filled with despair. He could feel the changes in Lin Muyu's power, and with the power of the god-binding chains, this punch was not something he could withstand. Bang! Chaos of the first brilliance. Amidst the sound of bones breaking, the honored martial artist fell to the ground with a howl. He had actually fainted from a single punch. Lin Muyu frowned. With a light shake of her wrist, she dispersed the battle energy and the god-binding chain's power on her fist. She turned around and smiled. Duan, let's go trade? Duan stood there in shock. Young hero, you actually defeated a honored martial artist with one punch. What's wrong? Honored martial artists are cultivators. They are like gods in the upper realm. You actually defeated them with one punch. Let's go. Don't think too much. Yes. When the two of them arrived at the imperial city, a group of guards blocked their way. One of them rubbed his fingers together. His eyes were filled with greed. He smiled. Lowly people from the upper realm. You can only enter after paying the toll. Duan hurriedly took out a heavy bag of money from his bosom and said, Sir, please accept it. After the guard took the money, he chuckled. Go in. Have fun. Thank you, sir. Duan respectfully led Lin Muyu into the imperial city. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu observed her surroundings. The chaotic realm was indeed sparsely populated. The scale of the buildings in the city could not be compared to Lanyan City. This imperial city was not even as magnificent as the Five Valleys city governor's mansion. After entering the Chaos Bazaar, Duan found a familiar man in black. He handed over his spirit stones and received a gold note. His face was full of joy. Young hero, the spirit stones have been exchanged for so much money. It should be enough for you to eat and drink for a few days in the chaotic realm. Do you want to follow me back to the upper realm, or continue to stay in the imperial city? Duan, I don't need this money. You can take it. Lin Muyu said. But you have to tell me how to get to the dragon abyss of chaos. Duan squinted his eyes and smiled. Young hero, you really came for that choo-choo. You can't fool me. Lin Muyu touched her nose and smiled. All right, I won't hide it from you. Choo-choo is my teacher. I came to the chaotic realm to look for him. I see. Duan's eyes were full of respect. Young hero, you are a loyal person. Duan admires you. However, it is not easy to enter the dragon abyss. It is an important place in the imperial palace. Only the spiritual venerables and demon venerables who serve His Majesty can enter. Even martial venerables are not qualified to enter the dragon abyss. There is only one way to enter. What is it? The Saint Emperor is obsessed with martial arts, so he recruited warriors from the chaotic realm. There are only 31 of them, but each of them is an extraordinary expert. Among them, the 4 spiritual venerables are the strongest, followed by the 27 demon venerables. If you want to enter the dragon abyss, you have to pass the challenge and become one of the warriors of the chaotic realm. However, it is too dangerous. The strength of the demon venerables and spiritual venerables is far beyond that of a martial venerable. I understand. Lin Wuyu smiled. How much does it cost to stay here for a night? 1 gold coin is enough. Give me a few gold coins and you can go back. It is very dangerous here. Then, young hero, please take care. Okay. After Duan left, Lin Wuyu stayed in an inn beside the imperial palace. After eating and drinking to her heart's content, she continued to cultivate. After a good night's sleep, the sky was already bright. The sunlight in the chaotic realm was warm. Moreover, there were 3 suns shining chaotically. As a result, when Lin Wuyu stood in the courtyard of the inn, she felt as if she was being illuminated 360 degrees. After a hurried breakfast, she went straight to the imperial palace. In the square of the imperial palace, there was a huge recruitment flag fluttering in the wind. Beside it was a huge martial arts arena. There was already a group of people crowding around it. Under the flag, there were a few people dressed in guards' armor who were yawning lazily. Lin Wuyu walked forward and said respectfully, "Hello, I want to join the Imperial Guard camp." "You?" One of the guards raised his head and smiled. "Do you know the rules of joining the Imperial Guard camp?" "I don't know. What are the rules?" "You have to defeat a demon lord. In addition, you have to sign a life or death contract because there will be no compensation if you die in this martial arts competition." "Got it." A trace of astonishment flashed across the guard's face. The handsome young man in front of him was dressed in a completely different style from the local imperial palace. Moreover, he looked calm and composed. This kind of attitude was not faked. Without sufficient confidence, he would not be so calm. He asked, "Young hero, what is your name?" "Linji." Lin Wuyu still used her real name. "Okay, just sign here," Wang Yao said. Lin Wuyu picked up the brush and signed, saying, "Is it okay now? Please don't ask me why this chaos realm also uses Chinese characters. It's not good to waste ink. And I'll go invite the demon lord." Not long after, a warrior carrying a spear walked out. He looked to be around 40 years old. His face was filled with arrogance. He looked at Lin Wuyu from afar and said indifferently, "You are the Linji who wants to challenge me?" "Yes." Lin Wuyu stepped onto the martial arts arena. She raised her hand and slowly pulled out the dragon spirit sword. Below the martial arts arena, a group of Chaos Realm citizens immediately cheered. Many of them were waiting here to watch a good show. They wanted to see the scene of the challenger's blood splattering all over the place. The spear-wielding demon lord smiled. The silver insignia on his chest glowed faintly. He smiled and said, "Lin Ji, do you know how many challengers I will kill this month?" "I don't know." "The 7th. Also, my name is Luokai. Don't forget my name in your next life." Luokai's face was filled with arrogance. He didn't put Lin Wuyu, this pretty boy, in his eyes at all. Lin Wuyu also smiled. Her aura was awe-inspiring. "Don't worry. Remember my name in your next life." "Arrogant." Luokai suddenly shouted in a low voice. Suddenly, the battle chi around his body spun rapidly, quickly condensing into battle armor that enveloped his body. The light of battle spirit revolved around his spear. He seemed to be an expert who had just stepped into the 3rd heavenly layer of the heavenly realm. With another shout, the spear danced wildly in the air and stabbed forward. The strength of the spear was astonishing. He really wasn't simple. Lin Wuyu only took an instant to gather her chi and circulate it. The 5 battle spirit lights on the dragon spirit sword revolved rapidly. With a clang, the hilt of the sword locked onto the handle of the spear. Taking advantage of the situation, Luokai rushed over. He raised his battle boots and kicked out filled with battle chi. Bang! Luokai raised his leg at the same time. The two of them suddenly kicked each other. Lin Wuyu stood in place without moving. The cyclone around her surged, while Luokai continuously retreated 7 to 8 steps. The spear in his hand was directly grabbed by Lin Muyu. You. In an instant, this demon lord's face was filled with shame and anger. Chapter 377. I can still kill you with my fists. Luo Kai flew into a rage out of humiliation. He gathered almost all of his battle energy in his fists, stomped on the ground, and rushed toward Lin Muyu like a bolt of lightning. However, just as he reached Lin Muyu, a dang sound rang out. His old face directly hit a martial soul that was as hard as a steel plate. It was the wall of a gourd. Luo Kai retreated several steps. 2 of his front teeth had already been knocked out by the gourd wall. Looking up, he saw Lin Muyu rushing toward him with a longsword slashing through the air. My battle armor is invincible. Come on. Luo Kai continued to shout. He knew that he had lost, but he was unwilling to accept the fate of defeat. After all, as one of the 27 demon lords, he had always been high and mighty. Pooh. Blood splattered. The dragon spirit sword had been tempered with white diamond crystals, and with Lin Muyu's abundant strength, it was naturally easy for her to cut through the battle armor. In the next moment, Luo Kai's entire right arm was chopped off, and blood splattered on the spot. Below the stage, countless onlookers revealed astonished gazes. No one thought that this young and handsome man would be so strong that he could defeat the incomparably abnormal demon lord. Luo Kai knelt on the ground and slowly lay down. His face was pressed against the ground, and blood spurted out of his mouth. He was still cursing. Just you wait, the spirit lord will avenge me. Scram. Lin Muyu raised her leg, and a vigorous battle energy kicked Luo Kai away. He hit the wall heavily, and he fell down with a howl. Lin Muyu's attack was very ruthless, but it wasn't enough. After all, she didn't kill Luo Kai. Now, can I become one of the guard's battalion's warriors? Lin Muyu asked. The guard in charge of supervising the battle was taken aback. He cupped his fists and said, Your lordship is mighty and invincible, truly admirable. You've already defeated Lord Luo Kai. Logically speaking, you should already be a demon venerable, but we still need Lord Luo Bing, the spiritual venerable in charge of the selection, to verify the life or death agreement and the outcome of the battle. Please wait a moment, your lordship. This subordinate will go and invite Lord Luo Bing. At this moment, an extremely dignified voice came from afar. There's no need. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. This voice was very old. Moreover, Luo Bing and Luo Kai were obviously in cahoots. Maybe this spiritual reverend was Luo Kai's father. She had beaten Luo Kai to such a state, it would be strange if Luo Bing was willing to let it go. However, this was also good. Since she wanted to save Chu Chu, she had to face these spiritual reverends head-on. At the palace gate, an old man with a white beard walked over. His face was rosy, but there was no expression on his face. He looked at Luo Kai in the corner and frowned. Is this the one who defeated Luo Kai? He even cut off one of his arms and made him half a cripple? The guard respectfully said. That's right, spiritual Reverend Luo Bing. This lordship is called Lin Ji. He's the one who just came to challenge. Luo Bing placed his hands behind his back and slowly walked onto the stage. He said, The Saint Emperor's selection of talents isn't just for killing. Lin Ji, your evil aura is too heavy. You're not suitable to serve by the Saint Emperor's side. How about this? This old man will help you get rid of the evil aura. What do you think? Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel that it was funny. What's the point of saying so much? Do it. Too frivolous. Luo Bing shouted angrily. His entire body surged with battle energy. 5 pure white battle spirits circled around his body, causing Lin Muyu to be startled. This was a peak 3rd level Heaven Realm expert, the same level as her. However, Lin Muyu wasn't afraid at all. This was because she realized that the cultivators in the chaotic realm didn't seem to cultivate martial spirits. Or perhaps they didn't even have martial spirits. Without the support of martial spirits, the intensity of their strength would be greatly reduced. Within the whirlwind, Luo Bing's palm was enshrouded in raging flames. This was an expert who cultivated the law of fire. Buzz. The golden gourd wall appeared in the sky and directly blocked Luo Bing's flame attack. Lin Muyu spun around and attacked with her sword 3 times in a row. However, Luo Bing waved his fire palm and blocked all of them. His palm was filled with raging flames and was actually able to block the dragon spirit sword's attack. Good. Lin Muyu raised her hand and sheathed her sword. She raised her fist and gathered the power of the stars. She brazenly punched out. She used 70% of her strength and directly used initial starlight. Bang! The air swirled around. The stellar art was extremely domineering. Moreover, this punch was supported by the power of the god-binding chains. This punch forced Luo Bing to take a few steps back. His face was filled with shock. Without waiting for him to take a breath, Lin Muyu threw out 7 to 8 punches in a row. The impact forced Luo Bing to take a few steps back. He was already at the edge of the battle stage. His face was ashen as he roared. His body was covered in raging flames. Both of his fists smashed down from the sky. Was he going to risk his life? Little bastard, I will kill you. Luo Bing spat out blood. His face was filled with murderous intent. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said indifferently, "Then die." Stepping on the ground, Lin Muyu slightly lowered her center of gravity. Her body was surrounded by a bright golden light. The golden gourd and the god-binding chains light intertwined and turned into rays of azure light that gathered in her palm. Suddenly, rays of stars gathered and turned into dazzling stardust. Suddenly, she threw out the third style of the stellar art. 5 mountains descend from the sky. Bang! The cyclone expanded and instantly broke the fire curtain that Luo Bing had created. The mysterious destructive power of the 5 mountains descend from the sky was suddenly released. Suddenly Luo Bing cried out in pain. The spiritual venerable let out a miserable howl before his body exploded. His blood turned into wisps of blood curtains. Lin Muyu had not controlled her strength in her attack, and it had directly disintegrated the spiritual venerable's corpse. Wah! Even though Lin Muyu had experienced the chaos in Lanyan City, she could not help but feel a little nauseous looking at the scene in front of her. Moreover, Luo Bing's strength was not weak either. A tyrannical fire force backfired on him, rendering him unable to muster any strength for a long time. The audience was stunned. The guard who was in charge of supervising the fight was even more shocked. Linji, you killed the spiritual master Luo Bing. You? Did I commit a serious crime? Lin Muyu was shocked. No. The guard smiled and said, His Majesty the Saint Emperor once said that anyone who can directly challenge and kill a spiritual master will be promoted to a spiritual master. Lin Ji, you are now a spiritual master under His Majesty the Saint Emperor. This subordinate greets the spiritual master Lin Ji. You're welcome. Lin Muyu looked at the pool of blood on the ground and frowned. She was a little nervous. The guard said, Master Lin Ji, don't say anything. Follow me to see His Majesty the Saint Emperor. This is His Majesty's decree. Anyone who can challenge and kill a spiritual master will have the right to see the Saint Emperor. Okay, thank you. Lin Muyu nodded. He also wanted to see what kind of person His Majesty the Saint Emperor, who imprisoned Chu Chu, was. After entering the palace was not big, but the interior was very exquisite. After walking along the pavilions and waterside pavilions for close to 10 minutes, there was a magnificent palace in front of them. Along the way, many people wearing silver and gold badges were looking at them with hostility. Lin Muyu also knew that there were only 4 spiritual venerables in the chaotic world. And she had killed one of them after coming here, which really shocked them. However, he was also very confused. Chu Chu was a Saint Realm cultivator, and the Fire Cauldron martial spirit was very strong. 3 years ago, Chu Chu shouldn't be much weaker than him now. How could he be imprisoned like this? In the main hall, a group of palace maids were dancing gracefully and elegantly. On the throne, a person around 30 years old was sitting upright and still. His face was red. The Saint Emperor had occupied the chaotic realm for a long time, but he was still so young. This could only mean that he entered the Saint Realm when he was 30 years old. This Saint Emperor wasn't just an ordinary person. Lin Muyu seemed to have found the reason why Chu Chu was imprisoned. You are the Lin Ji who killed spiritual master Luo Bing? The Saint Emperor raised his brows and asked. Yes, subordinate Lin Ji greets His Majesty. Lin Muyu bowed respectfully. The Saint Emperor laughed heartily. Linji, you actually killed that old monster, Luo Bing. It really wasn't easy. Servants, take a seat for spiritual master Linji and serve him wine and meat. Yes. A maid came forward and held Lin Muyu's hand, pulling her to sit at a nearby table. Then the Saint Emperor smiled. Linji, since you've come to the chaotic realm, enjoy yourself here in Xiaoyao. You won't be able to go anywhere else. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. Yes, I'll be happy here. I won't go anywhere else. Ha, good. Although the Saint Emperor's eyes were shining brightly, they were slightly swollen. Lin Muyu pinched her fingers and calculated that the Saint Emperor's kidneys were weak. At this time, a few girls sitting in the same row as the Saint Emperor giggled. Wow, it's rare to see someone as handsome as spiritual master Linji in the chaotic realm. Yes, so handsome, I can't help but be tempted. Big sister, could it be that you also like him? Yes, the Saint Emperor smiled and said. Spiritual master Linji, look, I have a total of 4 daughters, and they're all princesses of the chaotic realm. If you like any one of them, just say the word, and I'll arrange a marriage for you. Lin Muyu was stunned. She saw the youngest of the 4 princesses stand up. She was about 18 years old, and she walked over with a cup of wine with a smile, saying, Father, I really like this spiritual master. Sisters, don't fight with me for him, he's mine. Lin Muyu glanced at her. This 4th princess wasn't bad looking. Although she wasn't as stunning as Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, she was still pretty. The Saint Emperor said, Spiritual Master Linji, are you satisfied with the 4th princess? If you are, she's yours. Lin Muyu was stunned, but she couldn't refuse. She could only cup her fists and say, Thank you, Your Majesty. Good. The Saint Emperor laughed heartily. The people of the chaotic realm live a simple life, and they don't have so many formalities. After you finish drinking, bring the 4th princess back to your room, and she'll naturally serve you. From now on, we'll be a family. Lin Muyu's heart raced. The people of the chaotic realm were too unrestrained, weren't they? The 4th princess in front of her had a lustful look on her face. No matter how she looked at it, she didn't look like a girl from a good family. She sat next to her and kept rubbing her arms with her breasts. She was like a madam who didn't rely on oars, but on the waves. It's over, I might not be able to save Choo Choo this time. And I've even gotten myself into trouble. No, calm down, activate the spiritual pulse technique, and protect my chastity and integrity. Chapter 378. In the blink of an eye, the night fell. The 4th princess held Lin Muyu's arm and took him back to her bedroom. Although Lin Muyu didn't like it, she couldn't do anything about it. Beside her, a guard in his early 20s was looking at her with a worried look. Lin Muyu knew that things were not looking good. She returned to the bedchamber and placed the drunk 4th princess on the bed. She then turned around and looked at the guard. Young lad, what's your name? My name is Qingfang. Qingfang, what a strange name. Lin Muyu smiled and said, I can't sleep. Come out and take a walk with me. Yes. Under the moonlight in the courtyard, Lin Muyu looked at him and asked, You must have something to say to me, right? Say it, you can say it now. Qingfang hurriedly said respectfully, I'm doing my duty. There's nothing to say. Please rest early, Sir Spiritual King. Really? Lin Muyu squinted her eyes. The spiritual pulse spell had already been fully extended. Her spiritual power easily invaded Qingfang's brain. Soon Qingfang's pupils became empty, as if he was sleepwalking. Can you say it now? Lin Muyu gradually felt that she seemed to have controlled the guard's mind. Qingfang stood there without any light in his eyes. He murmured, Sir Spiritual King shouldn't sleep with the 4th princess. Why? Because the 4th princess's body has long been given to His Majesty. She is actually His Majesty's woman. Ah. Lin Muyu's mind was filled with a bunch of F***king horses again. She said, His Majesty won't even let his own daughter go. Yes. Qingfang continued as if he was in a dream. His Majesty is lustful. He has slept with almost all the women in the palace. That's why he was so generous to give the 4th princess to you. Now I know. Lin Muyu said lightly, Qingfang, where is the dragon abyss of chaos? The Dragon Abyss of Chaos is an important place in the palace. It's guarded by 3 demon lords. It's about 500 meters southwest of the 4th princess bedroom. Alright. Lin Muyu slowly stopped using the spiritual pulse technique. Qing Feng's eyes lit up and he said, "Spiritual Venerable, what happened to me just now?" "It's nothing. Go and protect the 4th princess. I can't sleep for the time being, so I'm going out for a walk." Yes. There were very few people in the Chaos Realm to begin with. Naturally, there were even fewer people in the palace. The 4th princess only had 1 guard. Lin Muyu left the palace and went straight to the southwest. Along the way, there was not a single guard, so she did not encounter any obstacles. Further ahead was a huge garden, but the periphery was blocked by iron fences. The fences were full of rust, so it should have been some time since anyone entered. A demon venerable came forward in the dark and said respectfully, "Spiritual Venerable Linji, why didn't you sleep in the middle of the night? Why did you come here?" "I'm walking around." Lin Muyu smiled calmly. "I heard there is a dragon abyss in the palace, so I really want to go in and check it out." The demon venerable laughed. "Spiritual Venerable Linji, you must be joking. There is only death in the dragon abyss. What is there to check out?" "There is death, which means there is a strong enemy. That is what I want," Lin Muyu said calmly. The demon venerable showed respect on his face and said, "All right. If Spiritual Venerable wants to go in, I will pretend I know nothing. But you must be careful and come back soon." "Thank you." She jumped into the garden. In the center of the garden, there was a huge iron plate covering the entrance to the dragon abyss. The demon venerable walked forward and tried to move the iron plate away. The wind whistled from below, which sounded like ghosts crying and gods howling. It was very shocking. "Do you need a torch?" the demon venerable asked. "No need." Lin Muyu drew out the dragon soul sword and said, "I'm going down. Please stay here for me, Spiritual Venerable." "Okay. Don't worry, Spiritual Venerable." Lin Muyu jumped into the dragon abyss and called out the golden gourd martial spirit in the air. The gourd vines quickly wrapped around the walls of the dragon abyss and flew over. Lin Muyu grabbed the stone wall of the dragon abyss and lifted up the dragon soul sword. He looked up and found the iron plate was covering the entrance slowly. Maybe the demon venerable was afraid of being discovered. Using the spiritual pulse art, Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. The dragon abyss was full of powerful auras, and he couldn't tell if they were humans or beasts. He opened his palm and suddenly shouted in a low voice, "Dawn!" The light was so bright that it looked like a scorching sun. Under the strong light, Lin Muyu looked down and saw many dragons with wings on the walls of the dragon abyss. However, they weren't from the sacred dragon tribe, they were just a group of pseudo-dragons with wings. Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He didn't know where Chu Chu was. Lin Muyu moved down step by step. Not long after, a 5,400 years old giant winged dragon lazily looked up at the shining golden dragon soul sword and let out a roar. It slowly spread its wings and grabbed the vines on the wall with its claws. It quickly rushed over and opened its mouth to bite Lin Muyu's legs. The wind was cold. Lin Muyu was already prepared. He exerted strength in his palm, and the gourd vines pulled his body up for nearly 10 meters. He turned around and held the sword with both hands and slashed down. The energy of the starlight appeared on the edge of the sword, and he slashed at the giant winged dragon's head. Bang! The starlight flashed, and the sword directly split open the giant winged dragon's head. Before it fell, Lin Muyu quickly used the sword to dig out some spirit stones and stuffed them into his clothes. Then, with a crash, the giant winged dragon's body fell down rapidly, and the smell of blood spread out. Suddenly, the dragon abyss was filled with the roars of dragons. One after another, fire, wind, stone, and ice dragons spread their wings and flew around the dragon abyss, competing with each other for the corpse of the giant winged dragon. Half a minute later, only a pile of bones was left of the giant winged dragon, and it fell into the bottomless depths. Oh my! Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. He gripped the dragon soul sword tightly and continued walking down step by step. He had to find Chu Chu. Otherwise he would have come here for nothing. However, he was very annoyed. The spirit pulse technique couldn't distinguish the aura of Chu Chu from that of a dragon. Therefore, he couldn't find Chu Chu among the thousands of auras in the dragon abyss, and the height of the dragon abyss was at least a few thousand li. Even so, he still had to find him. Soon, Lin Muyu quickly killed another 6,100 years old three-clawed golden-scaled dragon. The moment he killed it, he plundered the spirit stones. Then, he used the spirit pulse technique to hide his aura, and watched as the corpse of the golden-scaled dragon was devoured by countless dragons. It was rare that these dragons were very greedy. After eating, they dozed off and didn't look for more food. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Muyu climbed all the way down. The Dragon Soul Sword had already killed more than a dozen dragons, and he was so tired that he almost collapsed. Looking up, it was dark. The demon Venerable had sealed the dragon abyss, so he couldn't see if it was already dawn. He took out 2 military biscuits from his cosmos sack and ate them. After drinking some water, he rested for a while. Lin Muyu couldn't help but miss the days in the Empire. It was far better than the feeling of being dismembered by the dragons at any time. Gulp. Gulp. In the distance, a huge dragon was taking a nap. With the help of the faint light from the dragon spirit sword, one could see a total of 11 golden lines on its head. This was a 11,000-year-old spirit beast. It was best not to disturb its slumber. Lin Muyu carefully avoided it. The gourd vines of the golden gourd pulled her body across the wall and gently bypassed it. Voila! Suddenly, under the power of the vines on the wall, a whole piece of the decayed stone wall actually fell together. Ah! Lin Muyu quickly fell down. In a hurry, she waved the gourd vines, entangling whatever she could. Pa! The gourd vines accurately entangled the lower jaw of this 11,000 years old dragon. Suddenly, it slowly opened its eyes. A pair of blood-red eyes were filled with ruthlessness. With a roar, it spewed out dragon flames from its mouth. In an instant, the dragon flames illuminated the surroundings. As a result, Lin Muyu's body was hanging under its mouth, swaying back and forth like a fish that had just been hooked. Roar, roar, roar. Roars sounded one after another. Almost all the huge dragons saw Lin Muyu and rushed over. It's over, it's over. Lin Muyu was secretly annoyed. She was too careless. She had actually awakened this long-lived giant dragon. It was really over for her now. Lin Muyu's nose was filled with the stench of blood. Countless giant dragons circled around and rushed over. A dragon with a sharp mouth quickly opened its mouth, and rows of steel needle-like teeth came crashing down. Was it trying to swallow Lin Muyu in one bite? Wang. The golden light of the god-binding chains shot up to the sky. The long sword in Lin Muyu's hand trembled. Lightning flashed, and the lightning strike directly chopped off the mouth of this 4,800 years old sharp-beaked dragon. Lin Muyu's body spun, and the blade of the sword slashed at the group of dragons with sword chi. Immediately, it made them even more angry, and all of them opened their mouths to bite her. Bam, bam, bam. The dragons' mouths and dragon flames crashed into the wall of the gourd over and over again, and the wall was shattered in the blink of an eye. Lin Muyu could only rely on her suit of battle armor to defend herself, and her face had already turned completely livid. Her battle chi was being constantly depleted by the god-binding chains and the golden gourd, and her stamina was also gradually being depleted. Her sword strikes were becoming slower and slower. It's over. Am I going to die here? She couldn't help but wail internally. She used her remaining power to materialize another gourd wall. Her arms and legs had already been bitten by the sharp-beaked dragons, and Lin Muyu released the gourd vines in despair. She descended into the depths of the incomparably dark dragon abyss with the dazzling light of the golden gourd shimmering around her. Countless giant dragons were flying toward her from all directions. In her final moments, Lin Muyu couldn't say anything anymore. She was constantly thinking about Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, but there was nothing she could say at a time like this. She could only silently point her middle finger at the giant dragons. She plummeted at a rapid pace, and her eyes suddenly lit up. She was greeted by the sight of a dazzling starry sky down below. It was over. Just as Devon had said, this chaos realm was a shattered star in space, and there was a boundless universe right below the dragon abyss. Right at this moment, a howl suddenly rang out, and a Catasaurus arrived without an invitation. Splat! A spatial rift had appeared right below her, and it had been forcibly torn open by a Catasaurus's sharp claws. Chapter 379. Roar Roar. A Catasaurus's body twisted slowly in the air. Divine aura surrounded it. This mysterious power allowed a Catasaurus to fly and ride the clouds. This was probably the difference between a real dragon and the tens of thousands of pseudo-dragons. A Catasaurus appeared very angry in the face of the dragons. It let out a series of angry roars, causing the dragons to look at it in awe. Some of the dragons even cried out in pain and retreated back to the walls of the dragon abyss. However, Lin Muyu's body continued to fall. There was an extremely strong force pulling him down into the endless void. Save me. He held his longsword and looked at a Catasaurus who was releasing his dragon's might in the air. As if sensing its master's anxiety, a Catasaurus let out another roar and charged down. Lin Muyu looked up as he fell. He saw a Catasaurus looking at him with its mouth wide open. Its body was covered in a blood-red glow. In the next moment, a Catasaurus's body seemed to disintegrate. Its scales, flesh, and blood turned into streams of blood aura and flew toward Lin Muyu. A few seconds later, dazzling scales surrounded Lin Muyu's armor. What was even more mysterious was that the crimson crystal scales on his back merged together and formed a pair of crimson crystal wings. Human and dragon became one. At this moment, Lin Muyu had already assimilated with a Catasaurus's feelings. He could feel the dragon's anger and the dragon's reliance on him. The crimson crystal wings on his back flapped rapidly and stopped his body from falling. Lin Muyu was shocked. He looked at his body. His wrists, arms, knees, and boots were all covered with a layer of crimson crystal energy. It was as if the dragon had added a new layer of dragon armor to its body. It even gained the ability to fly. Armor. The sixth ability of the psychic art/animal taming art. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Her depleted Do Qi had recovered quite a bit due to the crimson crystal dragon's armor. With a spin of her body, her sword slashed at the dragons that were charging at her. With a flap of her wings, her body flew upwards at high speed. Her longsword was enshrouded in the energy of the first appearance of starlight. She stabbed at the lower jaw of the 11,000 years old dragon. Kacha. The sword chi pierced through the dragon's skull. Just one strike was enough to kill this 11,000 years old dragon-type spirit beast. Lin Muyu grabbed the dragon's head in midair and took out the spirit stone before it fell to the ground. She felt that the energy in her body had reached its limit. Was she about to break through? He was overjoyed. If he broke through, he would reach the sanctuary realm. Could it be that he was going to become a sanctuary realm powerhouse today? In the air, although the dragon's corpse had fallen, the dragon's wild beast spirit had not dissipated. Lin Muyu did not leave. He flew in the air and summoned the treasure refining cauldron to refine the wild beast spirit. Perhaps the power of the wild beast spirit could help him break through quickly and step into the sanctuary realm. Around him the dragons were still flying around. It seemed that they had not given up on the idea of eating Lin Muyu. They still wanted to swallow this powerful human. However, they were afraid of a Catasaurus's true dragon power and Lin Muyu's powerful strength. Therefore, they only circled around and did not make any moves. Lin Muyu quickly refined the wild beast spirit. In less than 20 minutes, the refinement of the wild beast spirit was almost completed. The golden gourd and god-binding chains absorbed and refined the wild beast spirit at the same time. This speed was obviously not comparable to a single martial soul. However, Lin Muyu was not sure if the two martial souls could obtain new abilities at the same time. It would be a pity if they could not. Finally, when the most stubborn wild beast spirit was refined, the god-binding chains and the golden gourd shone brightly. They had both evolved to the 9th level. Lulu's laughter could be heard. Congratulations, big brother. The green gourd has obtained a new ability, dragon armor. The god-binding chains has also obtained a new ability, dragon power. One is for defense and the other is for offense. Congratulations, big brother. Okay. Lin Muyu could feel that the god-binding chains had been infused with a new kind of majestic power. It was the power of the dragon. On the outside of the golden gourd, dragon armor could be faintly seen on the surface of the gourd. The two martial souls had advanced to the 9th level at the same time, and they had obtained different abilities at the same time. This was truly delightful. But what made Lin Muyu even more ecstatic was the surging power in his body, and the powerful spiritual storm that was produced in his Yi. The power in his body condensed into a whirlwind of fighting aura, which was the symbol of the power of the holy region. And the spiritual storm in his Yi was slowly released, causing the giant dragons flying around him to howl in pain and retreat. This was the symbol of the spiritual power of the holy region. The holy region coercion. The power of the domain. This is great. He was overjoyed. However, at this moment, there was a sudden wave of crazy aura in the spiritual pulse technique. On the left front, something seemed to be waking up rapidly. In the dark, 2 blood-red lights appeared. Lin Muyu looked closely and was immediately shocked. It was a beast embedded in the stone wall. It was also a huge dragon. Roar. This time it was the armored Acatosaurus that felt uneasy. It madly roared at the beast in the dark. Roar. A deep and fierce dragon roar sounded. The other party responded. In the dark, a black body spread its wings and flew. It was a huge black dragon. Its body was covered with black scales, and there was a pair of blood-red eyes on its ferocious head. There were a total of 15 golden lines and 2 silver lines on its head. This was a 15,200-year-old dragon, an old dragon. And looking at the shocked reaction of the surrounding dragons, this old dragon should be the Dragon King of the Dragon Abyss. Roar. Roar. The black dragon roared crazily. Dark dragon power began to appear around its body, quickly condensing into extremely hot flames. A pair of blood-red eyes stared ruthlessly at Lin Muyu, as if it wanted to tear this insignificant human into pieces in an instant. Lin Muyu stared blankly at the stone wall behind the black dragon. There was a person imprisoned on the vine-covered stone wall. It was an old man with a pale face. His shoulder blades were locked to the wall by iron chains, and his sea of energy was pierced by a spear. It was unknown if his sea of energy could still be used. Under the light of the dragon spirit sword, the old man slowly raised his head and looked at Lin Muyu, who was covered in dragon armor. His pair of turbid eyes were filled with excitement and agitation. You? Is it you? Lin Muyu's heart ached so much that she almost cried. Chu, it's me. Chu was in tears. I thought I would never see you again. You have to be careful. This Black Dragon King is very strong. He has suppressed my power for 3 years. You must be careful. Although you have stepped into the sacred realm, but you still have to be careful. And don't worry. Lin Muyu held the sword with both hands and looked at the Black Dragon King sternly. She had to get rid of this black dragon first before she could save Chu. At this time, Lin Muyu's fighting spirit was incomparably high. For Chu, she had to kill this Black Dragon King no matter what. Regardless of whether she had the ability or not, she had to do it. She raised the sword and gathered the power of the stars. Suddenly it was first starlight. Roar. The powerful Black Dragon King was not someone to be trifled with. After a furious roar, he actually condensed a black barrier in front of his head. Lin Muyu's sword landed on the barrier with a dang sound, but it did not cut through it. It only slashed a crack on the barrier. Instead, the Black Dragon King suddenly opened his huge mouth and bit in front of Lin Muyu. Clang! The dragon spirit sword blocked the Black Dragon King's sharp teeth. In an instant, Lin Muyu's arms became numb, and an invisible dragon force drilled into her body. What a strong Black Dragon King! As expected of the overlord who guarded the dragon abyss. No, she had to destroy the Black Dragon King's barrier first. Otherwise, she would not be able to attack his body at all. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth and raised the sword again. The 7 luminaries' profound energy spun rapidly and condensed on the sword's edge. The surrounding heaven and earth instantly distorted. The millions of giant dragons that were attached to the stone walls wailed, as though they were afraid of the power that Lin Muyu was using. 6 luminaries, heaven and earth calamity. The dragon spirit sword constantly spun the sky, the sea, the nebula, the forest, the mountain and other celestial bodies. The 6 luminaries heaven and earth calamity, a heavy and ferocious attack that gathered the power of heaven and earth, fell together with Lin Muyu's sword. Boom! The explosion was deafening and the energy burst out, illuminating the dragon abyss. The impact of the airflow caused the stone walls to peel off continuously, and the sound of crashing could be heard incessantly. A temporary feeling of powerlessness came from her arms. It was the effect of the 7 luminaries' profound energies backlash. Lin Muyu raised her head and saw that the barrier in front of the Black Dragon King had already been smashed by the 6 luminaries heaven and earth calamity. It was a good opportunity. Without thinking, she immediately activated the 3rd style of the star arts. 5 mountains descend from the heavens. But at this moment, the Black Dragon King actually took the initiative to attack. He opened his mouth and a mouthful of high-temperature dragon flame. Golden gourd absorb. Lin Muyu roared and the gourd came out of her body. She activated the 8th level skill. Absorb. The mouth of the gourd opened wide and frantically absorbed the damage of the Black Dragon King's dragon flame. And Lin Muyu took the opportunity to slash the opponent's head with the 5 mountains descend from the heavens. Bang! Dragon scales flew and shattered. Dragon blood splattered everywhere. But this sword did not cut through the dragon's bones. The Black Dragon King's head produced a very strong invisible rebound force. Roar! With its head attacked, the Black Dragon King became even more ferocious. It turned its head and bit at close range. There was no way that Lin Muyu could dodge it. Her left arm was instantly bitten. She quickly exerted force. True Dragon Arm. A golden shield appeared on her left arm, and Lin Muyu ignored the backlash from her body. She reached out and grabbed the dragon's tongue and tore it with all her might. A faint cracking sound could be heard. At the same time, her arm was in a terrible condition under the dragon's sharp teeth. The red crystal scales shattered, and she felt a sharp pain. Her entire arm was almost bitten off. Fight! Lin Muyu let out an angry roar and gathered all the xianqi in her body on the true dragon arm on her left hand. Starlight gathered rapidly and the dragon abyss blossomed with a dazzling radiance. True Dragon Arm 7 Glorious Stars Transformation. 3 types of power were activated at the same time, and it was aimed at the weakness that the Black Dragon King had mentioned. On the stone wall, Chu Chu's eyes were wide open. He could not help but exclaim in admiration. Good lad, where did you learn such a mysterious martial art? Chapter 380. Boom. The 7 glorious stars transformed into tens of thousands of starlight that exploded in the dragon's mouth. The resplendent starlight pierced through the Black Dragon King's body, riddling his huge body with thousands of holes. The starlight did not stop there. The stars smashed into the stone wall behind the Black Dragon King, and like the destructive power of Doomsday, the stone wall was smashed into smithereens. The giant dragons that could not dodge in time howled miserably as they were smashed into pieces by the 7 glorious stars. Roar, roar! The Black Dragon King's roar turned into a wail. One of his tongues was almost smashed by Lin Muyu's 7 glorious stars transformation. Taking advantage of the fact that the 7th glorious star's backlash had not fully taken effect, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her longsword, and once again used the 5 Great Mountains technique on the Black Dragon King's head. Crack! This time the Black Dragon King's skull was broken and he died immediately. Then Lin Muyu cut open his skull 3 times in a row, and took out the spirit stones. The Black Dragon King's body suddenly fell into the boundless stars below, throwing the warm spirit stones into the Qianquan pouch. Lin Muyu felt an irresistible sense of exhaustion in her body. Knowing that she would soon lose the power to fly, Lin Muyu immediately turned around and rushed towards Chu Chu. She raised her longsword and broke the iron shackles that imprisoned Chu Chu. She pulled out the long spear that sealed his qi, only to see a sacred whirlwind being absorbed into his qi. It seemed that Chu Chu had a way to prevent the power of his qi from leaking out. Phew! Exhaling a turbid breath, Chu Chu looked at Lin Muyu, who was holding on to the vines, with relief. He smiled and said, Is this true? You actually found this plane. Of course it's true. Lin Muyu was physically weak. She said, It wasn't easy for me to find out that Chu was forced into the Tower of Babel. So, I found Bloodlord's whereabouts. This time, Bloodlord did not lie to me. How are you? Are you okay? Chu quickly recovered his doqi and stamina as he asked with concern. I'm fine. The backlash from the 7 glorious stars transformation is too strong. 7 glorious stars transformation. Chu was stunned. He squinted his eyes and said, as far as I know, this is the ultimate technique of the 7 luminaries demon emperor, right? How did you learn the 7 glorious stars transformation? It's a long story. Coincidentally, the 7 luminaries demon emperor became my friend and taught me the entire set of 7 luminaries profound energy. However, my soul wasn't strong enough to fully control the 7 luminaries, so every time I used it, I would suffer a backlash from my body and spirit. I see. Chu pondered for a moment as a trace of sadness flashed across his face. He said, I've been locked in this dimension for 3 years. In these 3 years, how many things have happened in the Empire? Lin Muyu was startled and murmured, it's a long story. Tell me it's okay. Big brother Chu Huayin, big brother Qin Yan, and Grandpa Lei Hong have all died in battle. The Iha kingdom conquered Lanyan City. And then, Chu's face was full of pain. Lin Muyu said, we found the corpse of Emperor Father Qin Jin at the Fairy Lake in Tianshu province. He was buried on the spot. After the Iha kingdom conquered Lanyan City, the Seven Seas City and Muyu City finally sent their troops. More than 300,000 elite soldiers forced the Iha kingdom's army to retreat and reclaimed the imperial capital. Xiao Yin ascended to the throne and became the empress. After that, I was ordered to follow Marquis Min Yulin to reclaim Lingdong province. However, we encountered the invasion of the demon race in Lingdong province. The 100,000 Yangwei army was completely destroyed, and the Marquis also died in battle. The demon race? Chu frowned and said, what demon race? It's the race that the assassin I met on the Rice River on my way to Yunzhong province belongs to. They can use the demon battle chi cyclone, blood demon breath, and master demon force. The high-level demon race is very strong. The main force of the demon race is a species called the armor demon. Their body has a shell that can't be penetrated by swords. They are extremely strong, so we suffered a great loss in the battle against the demon race. Those demon race are the legendary original masters of the continent tens of thousands of years ago. Logically speaking, yes. They call themselves the god race. Chu sighed and said, the chaos of the Iha kingdom has already caused the empire to fall apart. Now that the demon race has reappeared, the continent is even more chaotic. How are you doing? Not too bad. Lin Muyu smiled slightly. I big brother Feng, big sister Chu Yao, Xiao Shi, and Xiaoyin all survived this turmoil. This is the most comforting thing. Now that the demon race is very strong, we really need you, Grandpa Chu. Chu also smiled. I also want to go home, but I don't know how to transmigrate back. Do you have the ability to do so? I do. Lin Muyu said in a deep voice. Before the 7 luminaries demon emperor ascended to heaven realm, he taught me the plane-piercing secret technique, so we can go back. But can Grandpa's body withstand the impact of the time quicksand? No problem. Chu said lightly. Do you think I've been wasting my time in the chaos realm for the past 3 years? How is that possible? I've been spending time with the Black Dragon King and many other giant dragons. These 3 years, I've been researching dragon power and dragon language. I've already created a set of martial arts from the dragon race's bloodline, called the dragon slaying art. But with my bloodline, I can't use the dragon slaying art to its full potential. So I plan to pass it on to Her Highness Qin Yin, who has the bloodline of a true dragon. Lin Muyu was secretly happy. This is a good thing. You're the princess's grand tutor. This is part of your duty. Chu nodded. Then take a good rest and recover your strength and battle energy. After that, we'll leave the chaos realm. No. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. I've entered the palace in the chaos realm and met that so-called Saint Emperor. He made you suffer so much. How can I let him go? What do you want to do? Chu was stunned. Lin Muyu clenched her fists and said lightly, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I want him to pay back double for what he did to grandfather. Before I leave the chaos realm, I want to get rid of this Saint Emperor, the scum of the Chaos Realm. Chu Chu couldn't help but laugh. Although you've stepped into the Saint Realm, and have the secret technique of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, the Saint Emperor isn't someone to be trifled with. Are you confident that you can defeat him? No, but I can challenge him. Besides, I have grandfather's help. Haha. How do you know that my strength can defeat the Saint Emperor? I can sense it. Lin Wuyu smiled mysteriously. Chu Chu also couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, he released all the strength in his body without holding back. His powerful aura turned into a suppressive force that descended upon the entire dragon abyss, causing all the dragons to tremble uncontrollably and submit. Chu Chu's body was surrounded by rays of golden light, making him look like a god. This power was something that Lin Wuyu couldn't contend against at the moment. What kind of power is this? Lin Wuyu asked in shock. This is called the Saint Realm. Chu Chu said lightly, the power of a Saint Realm third heaven. Grandfather Chu Chu has reached the Saint Realm? Lin Wuyu was overjoyed. That is to say, Grandfather Chu Chu will step into the immortal realm soon? The immortal realm is very far away. I don't know when I will be able to compete with it, but I have never slacked off for a single moment in the past 3 years. Staying with the Dragon Clan and cultivating my state of mind in the Dragon Abyss, I have made great progress and stepped into the Saint Realm in one go. Chu Chu sighed and said with a smile, misfortune is a blessing in disguise, and misfortune lurks within misfortune. Who can understand all the wonders of this world? Lin Wuyu clenched her fists confidently and said with a smile, Brother Feng and I have stepped into the Saint Realm, and with the strength of Chu third heaven of the Saint Realm, even if Luolan comes to Lanyan City again, we won't have to be afraid, right? Yes. Chu Chu nodded heavily and said, I am old, and I will contribute as much as I can to the empire. You and Feng Jixing, on the other hand, have to cultivate hard. The future of the empire is still in the hands of the two of you. Yes, grandfather, are you hungry? Eat something? Yes. Here, this is the roast chicken I brought from Lanyan City. Ah. Grandfather, eat slowly. This is wine, the Yinhua wine. I secretly brought it from Zetian Palace. It's delicious, the taste of home. Chu Chu was almost moved to tears again. Lin Wuyu looked at him silently, but in her heart, she thought to herself, it's just a piece of meat and a glass of wine. After an unknown number of days, Chu Chu and Lin Wuyu hid in the Dragon Abyss, concentrating on cultivating and recovering. While Chu Chu's strength was already at its peak, Lin Wuyu's strength was increasing rapidly. The damage caused by the backlash from the 7 glorious stars transformation was gradually recovering, and her physical strength and battle chi had been raised to the peak. I've recovered. In the darkness, Lin Wuyu smiled slightly. Yes. Chu Chu nodded and said, the Saint Emperor has accumulated power in the chaotic realm for too long, and he has left behind many treasures and riches in the palace. If we can kill the Saint Emperor, we can rob his treasures and bring them back to the empire. It can be considered as a contribution to the empire. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Lin Wuyu raised her head to look at the Dragon Abyss, and felt the presence of many experts entrenched there. She couldn't help but frown and say, Chu Chu, I've been in the Dragon Abyss for at least 3 days. I think the Saint Emperor has already discovered that the situation isn't good. There are many people surrounding the top. When we get out, we must attack first. Chu Chu smiled and said, yes, the spirit lords, demon lords, and martial lords that the Saint Emperor subdued are all vicious people. Their deaths are not to be regretted, so there's no need to show mercy. Getting rid of them might be a good thing for the chaotic realm. Lin Wuyu said, then let's get ready to move. How do we get up there? Chu Chu asked. Fly up. Lin Wuyu's eyes darkened as she called out softly, Little Apple armor form. Awoo. In the EC, a Catasaurus let out an angry roar and quickly flew out of the plane. It turned into rays of blood-red light that gathered around Lin Wuyu and quickly entered armor form. A pair of red crystal wings spread open behind its back, and for a moment, all the giant dragons in the Dragon Abyss trembled in submission. Lin Wuyu didn't have the mood to kill these dragons. She reached out and hugged Chu Chu, then jumped up and spread her wings to fly towards the Dragon Abyss. Chapter 381. Pung. Under the radiance of the dragon spirit sword, the iron plate of the Dragon Abyss tribe was smashed into pieces, and the countless green vines that were entrenched on the side were turned into juice, splashing everywhere. The aura was so powerful that the guards on the side were forced to retreat. In the next moment, Lin Muyu had already rushed out of the Dragon Abyss with Chu Chu. His face was full of anger as he looked at the surrounding people. Lin Ji, you traitor! Not far away, the Saint Emperor roared with a face full of killing intent. This emperor appreciates you so much, bestowed you the title of spiritual venerable, and even betrothed the fourth princess to you. Yet, you don't know what's good for you, and instead entered the Dragon Abyss to collude with that treacherous traitor, Chu Chu. Men, seize them for me. I want to cook these two people in a pot of oil. In the surroundings, 3 spiritual venerables, 27 demon venerables, and many martial venerables all pulled out their weapons, their faces full of murderous intent. Chu Chu landed on the ground. Although his clothes were torn and rotten, his aura of an expert was not angry. He lightly stroked his beard and said, "You grandpa will look at you. If you can't win, I will help you." Good. Lin Muyu's sword trembled as he looked at the group of spiritual venerables and demon venerables rushing towards him. Just as their weapons were a few meters away from him, his mental energy suddenly exploded, and an invisible domain pressure descended on the surroundings. The god-binding chains and the golden gourd on his body shone brightly, immobilizing the group of spiritual venerables and demon venerables. Die. He abruptly raised his iron fist. The power of the ghost god swirled around his fist, and blasted it out brazenly. For Luminary's demon cry. Pung. Blood vaporized, and the bodies of a spiritual venerable and 5 demon venerables were immediately turned into a pile of blood and minced meat. Lin Muyu suddenly threw out his sword, and with a poochie sound, it pierced through the neck of a spiritual venerable. With a light flick of his finger, he used the power of the fire sword to change the trajectory of the long sword, and went straight for the chests of the other 3 demon venerables. Ah! Miserable howls rang out incessantly. In the blink of an eye, another 3 people had lost their lives. How was this a battle? It was completely a massacre. A demon lord's face was pale, and the spear in his hand was still trembling. He slowly retreated and murmured, "Impossible. Impossible. How could Lin Ji be so strong? A bunch of trash." The Saint Emperor roared in anger, abruptly releasing his aura. Another Saint Realm. Pulling out the guard sword, the Sage Emperor roared and slashed at Lin Muyu. Clang. Lin Muyu directly used the wall of the gourd to block. Sparks flew from the dragon armor, and she felt a sharp pain in her body. The Saint Emperor's attack was indeed extraordinary. In the blink of an eye, the Saint Emperor had struck out more than 10 times with his sword, forcibly breaking the wall of the gourd. His face was filled with malevolence as he roared, "Lin Ji, die!" Voila! All of a sudden, a golden gourd vine erupted from the ground before binding around the Saint Emperor's feet. Lin Muyu unleashed her falling star steps, but the blade of her sword was blocked with a loud clang. However, a dazzling ribbon of stars materialized in her left hand, and it was none other than the second technique of her star mantra, Astral Chain. The Saint Emperor was completely immobilized, and Lin Muyu abruptly pierced through his suit of battle armor, leaving a gaping wound on his chest. Bastard! In his fury, the Saint Emperor's aura sword and scorching battle light surged around his body in a frenzy, materializing the same holy heaven realm light as Chu Chu's. He instantly broke free of the astral chain and the gourd vine before unleashing a palm strike onto Lin Muyu's chest. Bam! Lin Muyu was sent flying back with blood gushing from her mouth. Never would she have thought that the Saint Emperor would also be a Saint Realm 3rd-level powerful being. Thankfully, the Saint Emperor didn't cultivate a martial soul. Otherwise, he would have been able to kill her with a palm that was enhanced by his martial soul. "Allow me, you." Chu Chu abruptly leaped forward and arrived in front of Lin Muyu. He raised his palm, and the fire cauldron whistled forth to form a massive barrier. Bam! The Saint Emperor's ferocious palm strike struck the fire cauldron, and boundless fiery energy erupted forth, incinerating even the nearby guards to death. However, his palm was unable to do anything to Chu Chu's fire cauldron. How could this be? The Saint Emperor's eyes were filled with astonishment. A faint smile appeared on Choo-Choo's face. Do you think I'm still the same as I was 3 years ago? If it weren't for the fact that I had to invent my own dragon-slaying mantra, I would have exited the dragon abyss long ago to kill you. As he spoke, Choo-Choo unleashed a nonchalant palm strike, and scorching flames surged into the heavens. Arg! The Saint Emperor didn't even have the strength to fight back. His body was locked down by Choo-Choo's Saint Realm aura, and he couldn't move at all. Just like that, he was turned into a pile of ashes in the flames. Both of them were at the Saint Realm Third Heaven, but the difference in their combat power was like heaven and earth. Lin Muyu retracted the armor's effect, and let Acatosaurus return to the alternate dimension. She raised her longsword and looked at the crowd. The Saint Emperor is dead. There's no need for you to follow anyone anymore. Disperse. The crowd was dumbfounded. All the spiritual venerables had been killed, and half of the demon venerables were dead. The palace in the chaotic realm was now without a leader. Lord Linji. A demon venerable trembled as he said, How do you plan to deal with the chaotic realm? Choo-Choo had killed the Saint Emperor, and his strength was already at the top of the chaotic realm. Therefore, he was the ruler of this world. That was why the demon venerable asked such a question. Lin Muyu said, We're just passers-by. The future of the chaotic realm has nothing to do with us. That, Lord Demon Venerable, do you know where the Saint Emperor's treasure is? Bring us there. We'll leave after we get the treasure. Yes, Lord. The demon venerable turned around and brought Lin Muyu and Choo-Choo into the depths of the palace. Choo-Choo frowned. Then he ordered the group of palace maids to disperse and let them go home. In the depths of the palace, the Saint Emperor's chamber was filled with jewels and treasures. Piles of jewels were piled up like a mountain. There were also some weapons. Choo-Choo found a space bag and started to store the jewels. Lin Muyu came to a pile of weapons. The Saint Emperor's eyesight was not bad. He had stored a lot of god weapons. The best spear was actually a saint tool. It was made from the 10,000 years fire flood dragon. It was similar to Qin Yan's fire serpent spear. Therefore, she kept it in the Cosmos bag. Qin Yan was one of the deputy commanders of the Longdan army camp. His strength and prestige were among the best in the army. He was worthy of this spear. The two of them kept the jewels from dawn to dusk. They used a total of 4 space bags and emptied the Saint Emperor's treasures. After exiting the cellar, there was no one left in the palace. All the guards, palace maids, and concubines had already left. Only a few crying princesses were looking at Lin Muyu with red eyes. The 4th princess had an aggrieved look. She cried and said, Spirit Venerable Linji, since I am your woman, you have to bring me away. I cannot stay here. Choo-Choo couldn't help but laugh. You are quite lucky with women. Lin Muyu was extremely embarrassed. Choo, don't joke with me. I haven't even touched a single strand of her hair. She is also not my woman. Moreover, she is not worthy. Choo-Choo nodded and said, That's right. Princess Shi and Her Highness Yin are all above her in terms of looks. I'm not talking about this. Lin Muyu was a little speechless. Alright, it's about time. Let's hurry back. After storing the space bag properly, Lin Muyu once again summoned Acatosaurus to transform into armor. He spread his wings and flew into the sky with Choo-Choo. They directly arrived at the 2nd level of the chaotic realm. Then he flew directly to the 1st level and killed a few chaos worms on the way. He threw the corpses down to the lower realm as gifts for Devon and the rest. He also conveniently kept the spirit stones. Spirit stones were good stuff. Whether it was to sell them for money or to forge weapons, they were good. The empire had just been rebuilt, and there was a shortage of money everywhere. Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp now had 20,000 soldiers again. The demand for weapons and equipment was getting higher and higher. Naturally, they needed money even more. Therefore, he had no intention of taking out the treasures that he kept in his Cosmos bag. If he contributed them to the national treasury, they would become the wealth of the 2 Grand Dukes. If he kept them in his hands, he could sell these treasures and upgrade the equipment of the Longdan army camp by another level. Why not? However, Choo-Choo was an honest person. He would definitely give the treasures in his 3 space bags to Qinin. Strolling in the barren space of the first level of the chaotic realm, Lin Muyu tried her best to find the direction where she came in. She said to Chu Chu, "Chu, after you return to the Empire, don't reject whatever rewards Xiaoyin gives you. It's best if she can give you some official titles with real power. This way, you can share some of the pressure with Xiaoyin." "Share the pressure? What do you mean?" Chu Chu was stunned. Lin Muyu said, "Chu, you're focused on cultivation and don't care about the affairs of the world, so you don't know. The reason why Lanyan City was breached was because the 2 Grand Dukes, Tang Lan and Su Muyun, didn't move their troops. They watched as the imperial capital was destroyed with 400,000 troops in their hands. They only led their troops out after the empire was destroyed and overthrew Xiao Yin's imperial power in one fell swoop. Therefore, the real people in power in the empire are the 2 Grand Dukes, not Xiao Yin. I don't want this situation to continue. So, after you return to Lanyan City, you must help Xiao Yin more." "It can't be right." Chu Chu frowned and said, "Tang Lan and Su Muyun are my old acquaintances. Why would they do such a rebellious thing?" "You'll know after you return to Lanyan City." Lin Muyu touched her nose and smiled. "The 2 Grand Dukes are afraid that Xiao Yin will have more military power in her hands. If it wasn't for the invasion of the devil race, I'm afraid that my Longdan army camp wouldn't even have the power to expand." "I see. I understand." Chu Chu said faintly, "Don't worry you. Chu Chu is highly regarded by the late Empress, and will definitely assist Her Highness. If Tang Lan and Su Muyin really have the intention to rebel, I, Chu Chu, will be the first to not let them off." "Yes, it's great that Grandpa Chu Chu has returned to the Empire. I don't have to worry about Xiao Yin's safety anymore. I can also focus on fighting and recovering her lost territories." "Yes." At this time, Lin Muyu had already arrived at the place to enter the Chaos Realm. Her eyes turned cold as she said, "We're here. Prepare to penetrate the plane. Grandpa Chu Chu, just rush in with me later." "Okay." Bending her body slightly, the golden divine power swirled in her palm. Lin Muyu let out a roar and activated her spiritual sense to attack. Suddenly, a space crack with a radius of 1 meter appeared 8 meters in front of her. She used her spiritual sense to check it out. Through the bloody cyclone, she could see the Blood Lord and his subordinates guarding the floor of the Tong Tian Tower. "It's here." Chapter 382. Swoosh swoosh. 2 figures shrouded in golden light shuttled out of the plane and landed on the first floor of the Tower of Babel. Before Chu Chu landed, he had already opened up the territory of the Holy Heaven State. His entire body was wrapped in a cold cyclone, and his powerful aura stunned the Blood Lord and the others on the Tower of Babel. Unknowingly, the Blood Lord and his battle bear made a gesture of submission. Lin Muyu followed closely behind. The dragon-armored wings behind her quickly dispersed, and she landed on the stone tower. She smiled and said, "Blood Lord, I've invited Chu back." The Blood Lord's face was full of awe. He said respectfully, "I didn't expect Lord Chu Chu to have entered the Holy Heaven State." Chu Chu cupped his fists and smiled. "Greetings, Blood Lord." "Thank you, Blood Lord, for making an exception and letting Ayu enter the strange space to find this dying old man." "Thank you, Blood Lord." "Lord Chu Chu, you're too polite." The Blood Lord's expression didn't look good. He said, "I don't have much to entertain here, so I won't keep you for the night." It was already nighttime. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. "Chu, let's go back to Lanyan City." The 2 of them walked down the stairs of the tower. The moment they opened the metal door, a few Imperial guards ran over from afar. One of them was the centurion that Lin Muyu had entrusted her with. His face was filled with surprise as he said, "Commander Yu, you're back? This is?" Chu Chu slowly lifted his tattered cloak and revealed an old face. He said, "General, you don't know me." "No. I know you." The centurion quickly knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, "Greetings, Lord Chu Chu." Behind him, a group of Imperial guards knelt down one after another. Chu Chu's reputation in the Empire wasn't below that of the 2 dukes. In the eyes of cultivators, he was far above the 2 dukes. He deserved such respect. Oh, how do you know someone like me who has left for 3 years? Chu was stunned. The centurion smiled. Chu must have forgotten that there is a portrait of you in the Zetian Palace Hall. I have seen it before. I see. Get up. There's no need to stand on ceremony. Yes, my lord. Lin Muyu said. Bring my treading snow here and give Chu a horse to escort us back to Zetian Hall. Yes, Commander Rain. They didn't encounter any obstacles on their way into the city, and the highest commander of the royal guards on duty that night was Zhang Wei. When he saw Lin Muyu and Chu on the city wall, he jumped down and laughed. Commander Yu. Lord Chu? Oh my god, you're back. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. Old Zhang, take us to see Her Highness. It's already so late, I'm afraid Her Highness is already asleep. Don't worry, this is good news. Xiaoyin won't blame us. Yes. They rushed to Zetian Palace Hall. It was late at night, and when Lin Muyu brought Chu, Zhang Wei, and the rest to the outside of Zetian Palace Hall, she asked a maid to inform them. Within a few minutes, Qin Yin's graceful figure appeared in the hall. She was wearing the Empress's robe and white pajamas, but she came in a hurry. Her jade-like feet stepped on the cold jade floor, and her eyes were filled with joy. Lord Chu. Lord Chu, you are still alive. That's great, that's great. Chu smiled faintly and knelt on one knee. Wu Wei, this old subject Chu greets your highness. I hope your highness will forgive me for escaping to another plane. This old subject really doesn't want to die in vain under Luolan's hands. Lord Chu, you don't have to blame yourself. Qin was full of joy. It's the Empire's fortune that you can return to Lanyan City. Lin Muyu smiled. Xiaoyin, there's another good news. Chu has stepped into the Saint Realm Level 3. With Brother Feng and me. Even if Luolan comes to Lanyan City again, we won't lose. Yes, that's great. Chu took a deep breath, stood up and said, Your Highness, Chu is untalented, but I am willing to be your teacher again. Moreover, this time, Chu has brought back a newly created martial art for your Highness to cultivate. Qin was overjoyed. Good. That's great. Lin Muyu said, Xiaoyin, send someone to Duke Lan's and Duke Yun's mansions to pass the news that Chu is back. Tomorrow, all the ministers will have a meeting in Zetian Palace Hall. You should confer a title to Chu. Yes. Qin blinked and said, More than 1,000 years ago, the Empire used to have the title of Minister of War. During non-war times, he had the authority to mobilize the entire nation's troops. I plan to reactivate the position of Minister of War and give it to Lord Chu. Brother Yu, do you think it's appropriate? It's appropriate, but it won't be easy to get past Duke Lan and Duke Yun. So tomorrow you General Feng, Lord Weiqiu Zhang Wei, and the others must help me. Yes. That night, Lin Muyu and Chu stayed in Zetian Palace Hall. Moreover, Chu didn't sleep the whole night. He burned the candle and wrote down all 7 levels of the Dragon Slayer art. The next morning, Feng Jixing, Weiqiu, Qin Yan, and the others came after hearing the news. They all greeted Chu. Chu was naturally overjoyed to see so many young generals in the Empire. Ever since Lin Muyu talked about the current situation in the Empire's court, Chu unconsciously felt a sense of responsibility. As long as he became Minister of War, he could no longer be the carefree mausoleum guardian who pursued medicine refinement. He had to take up the responsibility he should. The bell reverberated. After Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the others enjoyed the royal breakfast in Zetian Palace Hall, the morning meeting was about to begin. In the main hall, the officials lined up respectfully. Chu stood in front of the 2 commander-level generals, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing. His face was solemn, and he exuded an aura of power that made all the cultivators present feel reverence. This was an absolute power. Even Lin Muyu couldn't resist Chu's Saint Realm pressure, not to mention others. Congratulations to Lord Chu for returning to the Empire. Su Muyin cupped his fists respectfully. Chu nodded and smiled. I, Chu, was chased to another plane. I'm really ashamed. On the other hand, Duke Yun, the 3 armies of Sunset Rain City, recovered the Empire's lost land. It's admirable. Lord Chu overpraises me. Tang Luan also walked over with Tang Lu, Tang Tian, and Tang Wei. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Old General Tang Luan greets Chu Chu. Chu Chu's return to the empire is the empire's fortune." Among the white-robed imperial guards bestowed titles by the former emperor, only Lord Chu, Feng Jixing, and Lord Yao Yuan are still alive. Chu Chu nodded calmly and said, "Duke Lan is the pillar of the empire, and his granddaughter, Princess Shi, led the demonic beasts and achieved the empire's #1 military merit. Congratulations. I hope that Duke Lan's family is loyal and will continue to serve the empire." Of course. Tang Luan smiled faintly, but there was no change in his expression. At this time, Qinin entered the main hall under the escort of a few maids. Her beautiful eyes swept over the officials and she said with a smile, "I invited everyone to Zetian Palace Hall so early today for one thing. Lord Chu Chu has returned." Everyone said, "Congratulations, Your Highness, on obtaining another right-hand man." Qinin smiled faintly and said, "Lord Chu Chu is a white-robed imperial guard bestowed by my imperial father, the princess's grand tutor, and is also my teacher. Furthermore, he is the empire's right-hand man. This time, Lord Chu Chu's cultivation has improved, and he will definitely be given an important position. Therefore, I have decided to restore the empire's great minister of war from over 1,000 years ago and bestow Lord Chu Chu with the title of Great Minister of War." The Ministry of War's minister Xueling was stunned. Tang Lu, who was beside him, kept signaling him with his eyes, so he cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, the position of Great Minister of War has been abandoned since 1,000 years ago. I hope Your Highness will consider it carefully. Moreover, the Great Minister of War is in charge of all the Empire's troops. Although Lord Chu Chu is a person of virtue and prestige, he is a cultivator after all and has never led troops directly. Therefore, Your Highness, please reconsider." The officials behind Tang Luan all knelt down and said, "Your Highness, please reconsider." "You all." Qinin held back her anger, but her little face was filled with unhappiness. "Don't be late. I'm never late for a drink." Chapter 383. In the afternoon, Qin went to arrange for Chu Chu's residence. As the Empress's tutor, Chu Chu lived in Zetian Palace Hall. Furthermore, he could protect Qin. Lin Muyu returned to the Holy Temple and was stunned by the pile of files in the Great Deacon's office. "What's wrong, Great Deacon?" Guyang asked with a smile. Lin Muyu felt her scalp go numb and said, "Grandfather Guyang, the Holy Temple should hire a few civil officials. Many of these files don't need me to go through them personally. It's a waste of my time." Guyang stroked his beard and laughed. "I understand. I will let Deacon Zheng pick some qualified civil officials later. However, most of the people in the Holy Temple are warriors, and not many of them are literate." "There will be some. Yes." Lin Muyu calmed herself down and sat down. She flipped through the files one by one. It was still about the selection of personnel from the various holy temples and the allocation of funds. It was very tedious and boring compared to cultivation. Fortunately, Lin Muyu could silently cultivate the remnant scroll of the forging dragon bone, so that she wouldn't waste so much time. Before dusk, the guard outside suddenly said respectfully, "Great Deacon, the commander of the Imperial Guards, Feng Jixing, requests an audience." "Oh, let him in." "Yes." Feng Jixing entered the office and sat on the corner of the Great Deacon's desk. He laughed. "Oh, Great Deacon, are you going through the memorials again?" "They are only files. Only the emperors are called memorials." Lin Muyu looked up at him and laughed. "Didn't we agree to have a drink tonight? Why are you here so early, Brother Feng?" "Ah." Feng Jixing laughed heartily. "Before we drink, I want to bring you to a place." "Where?" "Ministry of Works, Weapons Department." "Oh, Weapons Department? Yes, let's go. Put down your files. The treasures there are much more powerful than these." "Okay." After exiting the sacred hall, Lin Muyu mounted a horse and rode on Takshu. She and Feng Jixing galloped towards the Ministry of Works of the Empire. Neither of them brought any guards with them. There was no need at all. Who would dare to target them? The warhorses were very fast. After entering the Ministry of Works, there were all sorts of supervision of craftsmanship along the way. When Feng Jixing brought Lin Muyu into the depths of the Ministry of Works, they finally saw a very dignified building in the distance. It was heavily guarded, with at least 200 guards surrounding it. It seemed that there was indeed a secret hidden here. Do you still remember Qin Xiling? Feng Jixing asked. I remember. What happened to Xiling? Without your permission, I directly asked for this person on behalf of the Minister of Works, Ouyang He. Qin Xiling's beast-hunting repeating crossbows are of excellent quality, so the skilled craftsmen of the Ministry of Works modified them according to his blueprints. You'll see it soon. Oh. The two of them arrived at the main entrance of the weapons department. Immediately, the guards cupped their fists respectfully. General Feng, Commander Yu. Feng Jixing nodded. Bring us in. Commander Yu and I want to see the power of the arrow box. Yes. A centurion respectfully brought the two of them into the weapons department. Not long after, an official in a civilian uniform came forward. He was about 50 years old, but his face was pale and wrinkled. He cupped his fists and smiled. Ouyang He greets General Feng and Commander Yu. Feng Jixing smiled. Master Ouyang, you don't have to be so polite. I brought Commander Yu to see our new weapon. Yes, Commander Yu, this way please. Lin Muyu was confused. What exactly was this arrow box? Was it a new weapon that could fire continuously, similar to a repeating crossbow? If it was, she had already seen it before. It was just that she didn't know how to make it, and didn't understand the principles behind it. Ouyang He brought the two of them to the shooting range of the weapons department. Not far away, a group of people dressed in Ministry of Works civilian uniforms were fiddling with a black box. The box was filled with holes from the arrowheads. It was indeed the legendary arrow box. One of these civilian officials was Qin Xiling. When he saw Lin Muyu, he quickly stood up and said respectfully, Xiling greets head deacon. Lin Muyu saw at a glance that Qin Xiling's rank had been promoted to Chiliarch. Being in the weapons department, it seemed that he had also been incorporated into the Imperial Army. She nodded and smiled. Xiling doesn't need to be so polite. Qin Xiling said with some shame. Xiling joined the weapons department without the Great Manager's permission. I'm really sorry, Great Manager. Please forgive me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She patted Qin Xiling's shoulder and said, Silly boy, don't say such silly things. I can't be more than happy for you to have your talents in the weapons department. Great Manager is really happy for Xiling? Yes, show me the weapons you've developed. Yes. Qin Xiling gave the order. Two soldiers slowly moved the arrow box and aimed at a target in the distance. This target was very far away, about 200 meters away. This was the upper limit of the bow's range. Moreover, the target was made of a very thick piece of wood. It seemed to be half a meter thick. Lin Muyu frowned as her eyes fell on the arrows in the box. Ouyang He smiled faintly and took an arrow from the table. The arrowhead was covered in a fiery glow. He smiled and said, This arrow is specially made. It has been tempered with a fire poison. This fire poison is the venom of the southern sky bamboo and continental grass. It can kill the target on contact with blood. Even the powerful vitality of the armor demons can't resist this poison. Lin Muyu was surprised. She asked, Have you tested this poison on the armor demons? Yes. Ouyang He nodded. Fortunately, Commander Yu brought back a few living armor demons from the Rice River camp. That's why we were able to test it. Unfortunately, these armor demons didn't have a cure and died. Hey. Okay, get ready to shoot. Yes. A soldier pulled the wrench and suddenly pulled it. Suddenly, the sound of a spring twisting came from the arrow box. It was followed by a series of so-so-so sounds. Nearly 40 arrows were shot out in an instant. The target in the distance was like a wall. Countless arrows drilled into the wall. The power of the arrows was amazing. The target was shaken and dust flew up. Let's go and see. Feng Jixing said. Yes. Lin Muyu stepped forward and came in front of the target. She gently pulled out an arrow. This arrow was made of steel. The arrowhead was very sharp. It directly pierced 20 centimeters deep into the wooden target. Ouyang, he said with a proud smile. The best archer in the Empire's army can only do this much. Not necessarily. Lin Muyu had seen Wei Chao's archery. From 200 meters away, Wei Chao would definitely be able to penetrate this kind of target. He gently raised his hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. After thinking for a while, he silently circulated his qi and slashed out. Suddenly, the blade of the sword was surrounded by a swirling qi. With a bang sound, a 40-centimeter hole was made on the wooden target. Commander Yu, what are you doing? Ouyang, he looked surprised. Lin Muyu said, I've fought with armored demons face to face, so I know the hardness and toughness of their shells. That's about the strength needed to split open the hard shell of an armored demon. So, Master Ouyang, unless your arrow box can penetrate 40 centimeters deep into the target, you won't be able to penetrate the shell of an armored demon, let alone poison it to death. Ouyang, he frowned. This is going to be difficult. At this time, Qin Xiling said from behind, Master Ouyang, give me some time. This subordinate is confident that he can continue to improve the arrow box and make it meet Commander Yu's requirements. Moreover, there is still room for improvement in our arrow forging. As long as we hire a good enough craftsman, I believe we can penetrate the hard shell of an armored demon. Ouyang, he said with joy. Can Xiling really do it? This subordinate will do his best. Qin Xiling said sincerely. Lin Muyu also smiled and said, if Xiling can really improve the arrow box and make it a sharp weapon to kill armored demons, then I will recommend you to Her Highness Qin Yin as the head of the weapons department. Qin Xiling said with joy. Thank you, Commander Yu. Xiling will do his best. At this time, Ouyang, he said, in addition to the arrow box, we also studied the ballista and ballista. General Feng, Commander Yu, will you follow me to take a look? Okay, please lead the way, Master Ouyang. Amen. Qin Xiling went to draw the blueprints, while the Minister of Works, Ouyang He, was very excited. The weapons department had always been the department that was least favored by the major dynasties of the empire. This was because the Qin Empire had always neglected the research of weapons. The empire revered martial arts. Qin Jin had always encouraged his people to practice martial arts and archery, but he had never encouraged the research of weapons. This time, Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu, these two imperial commanders who held great power, regarded the weapons department so highly. This was enough to make Ouyang He feel extremely flattered. Naturally, he would put in even more effort in recommending new weapons. Ballista was divided into single ballista and multiple ballista. Compared to the arrow box, the single ballista had fewer shots, but the advantage was that it was light and portable, far less heavy than the arrow box. Ouyang He said proudly, this kind of ballista can penetrate 50 centimeters of wood with one arrow. If the distance is close enough, it can penetrate the body of an armored demon. However, the requirement to aim at the head is too high. Lin Muyu nodded and didn't say anything. Ouyang He then pointed to a machine that was about the height of two people and said, this is the legendary ballista. It can shoot boulders and arrows with great power. It needs more than 10 people to operate and can't be fired. Moreover, it is very heavy and not suitable for battle. Feng Jixing licked his lips and looked up with a smile. It looks quite mighty. Lin Muyu's eyes lit up and said, if this ballista is equipped with sharp stones, will it be able to shoot through the sideboards of ordinary warships? Yes, it definitely can. Ouyang He said excitedly, Commander Yu, what do you mean? Just make it a little smaller, and it can be equipped on the warships of the Empire's navy. Lin Muyu said complacently, the demons aren't fools. Sooner or later, they will fight to the death with us on the Dao River. Moreover, the Iha nation will fight with us sooner or later. If we don't develop water-based weapons, it will be difficult to subdue them. Ouyang He's face was flushed. I understand, but the Jining dollars that the weapons department has applied for has been delayed. Duke Lan and Duke Yan aren't interested in developing weapons, so the file has been stuck in the front hall of Zetian Palace and can't reach Her Highness. Give me the file. I will hand it directly to Her Highness. Lin Muyu smiled. Ouyang He was ecstatic. Good. Thank you, Commander Yu. Feng Jixing also smiled at the side. Are we still drinking tonight? Let's drink after meeting Xiaoyin. All right. Chapter 384. A dossier from the weapons department? Qinin looked at the scarlet scroll that Lin Muyu handed over in surprise. Yes, it's from the weapons department. There was no one else in Zetian Palace Hall. So Lin Muyu sat at Qinyin's table and said with a smile, perhaps in the future, we can only rely on the weapons department's research to defeat the demons. Can we really defeat the demons? Qinyin blinked her big beautiful eyes. Of course. Feng Jixing said from a short distance away. He was lying on the table to the right of the Empress's table, and was admiring the murals in the hall. He curled his lips and said, the paintings are really good. The figures of those young ladies are vivid and lifelike. As expected, none of these painters are good people. Qinin chuckled. These two commanders of the empire didn't look like commanders at all when there was no one around. They looked like two ruffians bullying the Empress. But it requires a lot of money. Qinin looked at the dossier carefully and said, 30 million Jinin dollars. It's okay. Compared to the 500 million Jinin dollars spent to build the steel wall, this is nothing. If these weapons are really developed, it can be used to build 10 steel walls. Lin Muyu said. All right then. Qinin wrote her name on the dossier with a wave of her pen, stamped the Empress's seal, and handed it to Lin Muyu. In that case, brother, you will be in charge of the manufacturing. Great. By the way, Xiaoxi, Ling Huyan, and Tang Jin will be coming to Lanyan City tonight. Brother Yu and General Feng, do you want to come? Qinin asked. Oh. Xiaoxi is back from the demon subduing pass? What's the matter? Lin Muyu asked. Bring Ling Huyan and the 10 demon generals to swear loyalty to the empire. Really? Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Xiaoxi is really capable. She really managed to convince the demon race to be loyal to the empire. With the demon race's military strength, we will have more capital to fight against the demon race and the Iha kingdom. Yes. Qinin nodded slightly. We've sent many people into Winter Ridge province in disguise these days and got back a lot of information. It's said that the demon marshal Qianfeng is establishing a new order in Winter Frost City. He's enslaved human craftsmen to build siege ladders, siege chariots, and other machines. Moreover, he's sent 30,000 armor demons to build a shipyard at the lower reaches of Rice River. It seems that he wants to build ships. I've long guessed that Qianfeng would do this. Lin Muyu's lips twitched. Qianfeng is both brave and intelligent. He'll always be a great threat to us. His threat is even more serious than Long Qianlin's. Feng Jixing said. The demon race is powerful. The relationship between us and the Iha kingdom is gradually changing. There were even rumors a few days ago that the Iha kingdom wants to form an alliance with us to fight against the demon race. Oh. Qinin frowned. What do you think if the Iha kingdom really wants to form an alliance with us? Feng Jixing clenched his fists. This general believes that we can form an alliance. But the moment we defeat the demon race will be the day we start a war with the Iha kingdom. Lin Muyu nodded. We will forever remember the blood feud between the Iha kingdom and us. If Qin Yi and Long Qianlin don't die, we will be letting down Big Brother Chu Huayin, Big Brother Qin Lei, and Grandpa Lei Hong's spirit in heaven. Yes. Qin Yin smiled. Xiaoyin knows what to do. Night Tingyu Tower. After reopening, the Tingyu Tower's reputation was still good. However, the price of the dishes had dropped a lot. After all, after the war 3 years ago, the country's strength was not as good as before. Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, Luo Yu, and a few other important generals sat around the table and drank to their heart's content. They hadn't been so relaxed for a long time. When they were about 50 to 60% drunk, a guard from the Longdan army camp walked forward and cupped his fists. Commander Yu, Zetian Palace has sent someone to invite the generals to Zetian Palace for a discussion. They said. Princess Shi is here. Xiaoxi is here. Lin Muyu put down her wine cup and smiled. Anyway, we have eaten and drank to our fill. Let's go. Business is more important. Yes. After paying for the wine, everyone went downstairs and mounted their horses. They galloped all the way to Zetian Palace. At night, Zetian Palace was brightly lit. When Lin Muyu and the others arrived, Tang Lan, Su Muyun, and the newly promoted Minister of War, Chu Chu, were already there. Tang Xiaoxi was dressed in a red dress. She was as beautiful as a flower. She walked over with a smile. Mu, tell me, how many days has it been since we last met? I forgot. Lin Muyu said boldly. You have no conscience. Tang Xiaoxi glared at him and said, I heard that you have stepped into the Saint region? Yes. That's good. Tang Xiaoxi widened her eyes and looked deeply at his face. Although it was a happy thing to be stared at by a peerless beauty, Lin Muyu still felt goosebumps all over his body. He couldn't help but say, Xiaoxi, why are you looking at me like that? I'm not a plate of roast chicken. Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, I was thinking that since Mu has already stepped into the Saint region, you have already obtained the ability to maintain your youthful appearance. Your appearance will always remain at this moment. A 26-year-old Saint region. Hee, our Mu will definitely be the most handsome Saint region expert in the world. Feng Jixing coughed at the side. Princess Shi, this general is also a Saint region expert. But you are not as handsome as Mu. Tang Xiaoxi told him the truth. Feng Jixing touched his nose. To me, Feng Jixing, Princess Shi's words are like a cold blade in the 8th month of the lunar calendar. Tang Lu, who was standing at the side, couldn't bear to see Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu being so intimate. He coughed and said, Let's get down to business. Today is the day the demons surrender to the humans. Let's not talk about these useless things. Tang Xiaoxi frowned and said, Second brother, it's an alliance, not a surrender. What's the difference? Tang Lu sneered. At this moment, the fox, snake, and lizard man generals behind Ling Huyen were unhappy. They stuck out their tongues and hissed at Tang Lu. Although they didn't know what they were saying, they guessed that it wasn't anything good. They were probably greeting the females in Tang Lu's family. Qin Yin, who was dressed in an empress's robe and holding the hilt of her sword, slowly walked down the steps and said, Ling Hu, shall we begin? Yes. Ling Huyen responded softly, and her 3 beautiful fox tails swayed gently behind her. She slowly knelt in front of Qin Yin and said respectfully, I, Ling Huyen, swear on my identity as the saintess of the demon race that from now on, the demon race and the human race will forever maintain an alliance and will never take the initiative to violate it. I, Ling Huyen, pledge allegiance to Empress Qin Yin, and am willing to pay tribute every year. Every year, I will offer 5,000 superior war horses, 10,000 antlers, 1,000 boxes of rare herbs, 2,000 rock sheep, and 3,000 cowhide. Okay. Qin Yin stepped forward, placed her palm on Ling Huyan's shoulder, and said with a serious expression, As the suzerain state, Lanyan City will provide 1 million kilograms of grain to the demon clan every year as a token of gratitude. Thank you, Your Highness. The alliance is established and will never be abandoned. Yes, the alliance is established and will never be abandoned. Ling Huyan slowly stood up with a smile on her face. Her gaze swept across the area, and the 10 demon generals immediately knelt on the ground. Without saying a word, they knelt in front of Qin Yin and placed their heads on the carpet. Tang Tian couldn't help but sneer. Beasts are beasts. They are only fit to be controlled by humans. What did you say? Ling Huyan suddenly flared up, and her eyes were filled with anger. Several serpent people generals also pulled out their sabers, and it looked like they were about to chop Tang Tian into 2 pieces. Tang Lan hastily cupped his fists and said, These juniors are not very sensible. I hope that Saintess Ling Huyen will not blame them. I have failed in disciplining them, and I hereby apologize. As he spoke, Tang Lan fiercely glared at Tang Lu and Tang Tian. These 2 grandsons of his were indeed 2 good-for-nothings. Compared to Tang Xiaoxi, who was calm and unruffled, they were simply like 2 newborn calves. Tang Lan was also disappointed and helpless. But what could he do? Qin Yin pretended that nothing had happened. She held Ling Huyan's hand and said with a smile, Ling Hu, since there is nothing serious on the demon side, stay in Lanyan City for a few more days. Let Xiaoxi show you around Lanyan City. The imperial capital is very lively. Ling Huyen chuckled. Thank you, Your Highness. Ling Huyen understands. Good. Stay in Zetian Palace tonight. Yes. At this time, Tang Xiaoxi took Lin Muyu's hand and pouted. Mu, you all reek of alcohol. You must have gone drinking again, right? Alcohol. No, it's just a small drink. Lin Muyu explained. Tang Xiaoxi wanted to say something else, but Tang Lan, who was not far away, looked at her deeply and said, Xiaoxi, do you still want to stay in Zetian Palace? Do you not want to return to the Duke's mansion in Seven Seas City? That is your home. Grandpa. Tang Xiaoxi walked in front of Tang Lan, bowed deeply and said, Xiaoxi, it's better for you to stay in Zetian Palace. Grandpa, you have to take good care of your body. You've aged a lot in these few years. Tang Lan revealed a pained expression and said, That's fine. It's good that Xiaoxi keeps Her Highness company. Then this old man will go back. Xiaoxi will see you out. And Tang Xiaoxi walked forward and gently held Tang Lan's wrist. Tang Lan's body trembled slightly. He came under the starlight and murmured, If time could go back, I would listen to you and immediately send troops to reinforce Lanyan City at all costs. Grandpa. Tang Xiaoxi looked at him quietly. Tang Lan smiled. His hand was trembling as he brushed away the hair in front of Tang Xiaoxi's forehead. He said, Grandpa, you've obtained half of the country, but you've lost the person you love the most. This business deal is too much of a loss. Tang Xiaoxi almost burst into tears. Grandpa, there's no need to say anything more. Tang Lan smiled warmly. Everything you've done is right. Grandpa is proud of you. Never look back and never doubt. What about Grandpa? Grandpa, there's no turning back. Tang Lan mounted the horse with the help of a servant. He looked back at Tang Xiaoxi in his old and clumsy manner and said, Xiaoxi, there's no need to see me off. Go back. Tang Xiaoxi stood in the evening breeze, her clothes fluttering in the wind. She was indescribably beautiful. She watched Tang Lan leave with an indescribable sense of loneliness. Lin Muyu came to her side at some point. She placed her hand on the hilt of her sword and said softly, Xiaoxi moi. Tang Xiaoxi was speechless. Chapter 385. Roar. In the middle of the night, a loud roar came from the dense forest. Then, a large number of armored demons appeared in the north of Qinling Mountains. They carried pitch-black ladders in their hands, which were used to climb giant rocks. The Iha Kingdom soldiers were drowsy on the Qinling Mountains. They were startled by the flickering torches in the distance. A captaincy turned over and stood up. He held a steel saber and shouted, Brothers, wake up! The demons are attacking. The Iha Kingdom soldiers woke up one by one. They widened their eyes and looked at the sparks in the distance. They said, What the hell is that? What are the armored demons carrying in their hands? Ladders. It's ladders. They actually know how to use ladders to attack. Prepare the rolling stones. We must stop them. Yes. Rolling stones fell down the mountain peak one after another. However, the armored demons had long prepared for it. Each armored demon had a new steel shield on their left arm. They raised the shields and bounced off the rolling stones one after another, causing sparks in the night. Closely after that, the armored demons placed long ladders on the dangerous peaks of Qinling Mountain Range against the disorderly arrows as they roared and started to launch a fierce attack. Damn it! The captaincy said angrily. Archers, don't stop shooting. Heavy Shield Battalion, get ready to follow me. We must drive away all the demons. Don't let any of them climb the Qinling Mountains. Yes, General. A group of Heavy Shield Battalion soldiers raised their shields and held their steel sabers in their right hands. Under the moonlight, their faces were full of indignation, but more than that, fear. Who would not be afraid when facing the black mass of armored demons? They're coming up. An armored demon on the ladder suddenly spread its wings and flew up, diving straight towards the Qinling Mountains. You're courting death. The captain suddenly held his blade horizontally and charged out. A doqi luster surfaced on the blade. With an explosive roar, he hacked this armored demon off the mountain peak. Holding his blade horizontally, he angrily shouted, All of you stop! No one is allowed to slack. Yes, General. A group of soldiers rushed forward while being greeted by more and more armored demons. Although the armored demons could only fly less than 20 m, it was enough for them to rush at dangerous peaks. In the next moment, dozens of armored demons appeared in the crowd of Heavy Shield Camp and slashed everywhere with their blunt weapons, shattering the soldiers of Heavy Shield Camp together with their shields. What a miserable sight. Bastard! Captain C rushed forward angrily and chopped off the head of an armored demon. But at the same time, he felt a strong chill behind him, so he hurriedly turned around and slashed. Clang! The blade was blocked by a steel shield. Under the moonlight, an armored demon in a commander's armor was looking at him proudly. It was Lei Chong, the marshal of the 2nd Demon Corps. Lei Chong's battle hammer flew up and shattered Captain C's long saber and arm. Lei Chong was too powerful. He stepped forward and kicked Captain C, who was howling miserably, to the ground. At the same time, he stabbed the sharp handle of the battle hammer directly into Captain C's mouth. With a sound of puff, the hammer penetrated through the back of his head. This brave captaincy of the Iha country had ended his life. In the north of the Qinling Mountains, the black mass of armored demon corps invaded on a large scale. They crossed the Qinling Mountains in an unstoppable manner. The Iha country finally failed to defend the Qinling Mountains under the iron hooves of Lei Chong. General Long, bad news, bad news. In the ground camp in the south of the Qinling Mountains, Long Qianlin was looking at the list of military supplies under the candlelight. Suddenly, a captaincy rushed in recklessly and nervously cupped his hands, saying, "General Long, Qinling Mountains have fallen. Lei Chong has led the army to cross the Qinling Mountains. Our army has suffered a heavy loss." Long Qianlin's eyes were full of indifference as he said, "I see." Captaincy was terrified. "General Long, what should we do now?" "Retreat to the south of the Steel Shield Wall. Use the Steel Shield Wall as a barrier to stop the demons." Do we give up the territory south of the Steel Shield Wall? There are countless of our cities there. Oh my God! This is the order of the Commander-in-Chief. No one can disobey it. Order the 3 armies to retreat to the Steel Shield Wall before the demons arrive. Otherwise, even God can't save us. Yes. Captaincy turned around and left. Long Qianlin looked at the swaying curtain of the big tent with a gloomy face. Suddenly, he punched the table heavily and roared, "What bullshit General Long am I?" 3 days later, Yushu arrived at Lanyan City. In Zetian Hall, the officials all had a happy expression on their faces. The crushing defeat of the Iha country seemed to be a great thing for Lanyan City. After all, the heinous crimes that the Iha country had committed in Lanyan City were unforgivable. "Congratulations, Your Highness." Tang Lan cupped her fists and said, "In the battle between the Iha country and the demons in the Qinling Mountains, they lost more than 100,000 men and horses. The national strength was seriously damaged. The Thunderchong Corps of the demons also lost more than 10,000 armored demons. This is really good news for the Empire." Qin Yin stood up with a dignified expression on her beautiful face and asked, "Is there any specific information about the demons? Where is their main force? It is a good thing that the Iha country was defeated, but we can't let the demons keep getting stronger." Su'er said, "Reporting to Your Highness, our Yushu reported that 100,000 men from the Qianfeng Corps are hoarding in Dongshuang City. 50,000 are stationed at the border of Lingdong Province, and another 30,000 are building warships at the eastern border of Tsangnan Province. They have enslaved about 200,000 people in total. In addition, close to 200,000 men from the Thunderchong Corps are at the south of the Qinling Mountains." Su Muyin said, "If there are no accidents, with Lei Chong's cruel temperament, he will massacre every city in the south of the Qinling Mountains. The hundreds of miles from the Qinling Mountains to the Steel Wall will become hell on earth. Those were once the people of the Empire." Qinin murmured. Su Muyin nodded. "Yes, it is true that the Iha country rebelled, but the south of the Qinling Mountains was once the Empire's territory. The people of Lingnan Province may also be looking forward to the Empire's recovery." Tang Lan was slightly startled and said, "Is Duke Yin thinking of sending troops to Lingnan to help the Iha country fight against the demons?" "It is not impossible, but the premise is that we don't suffer too many losses. Tang Lan nodded and cupped his fists. Your Highness, Bugu City in the Earth Star Province is the closest to the south of the Qinling Mountains. It is also the closest place to the Iha country. This old official suggests sending an elite division to guard Bugu City. On one hand, they can wait for an opportunity to move, and on the other hand, they can guard the southern border of the Empire's territory. Which division does Duke Lan think is suitable? Qin Yin asked. Tang Lan said, the Marquis of Pingnan Xiangyu is good at war. He has 50,000 elite troops in Seven Seas City. He is more than qualified. Su Muyin smiled and said, the Marquis of Pingnan has outstanding achievements and is indeed worthy of this great responsibility. However, the Marquis of Pingnan has to be in charge of the battles along the Dao River. He can't do two things at once. In my opinion, it is better to send another elite division to Bugu City. Oh, who does Duke Yin think is suitable? The Longdan army camp led by Commander Yu. Su Muyin smiled and said, the Longdan army camp has been on the battlefield for a long time, and has fought against the armored demons. They have experience. Moreover, Commander Yu has recently stepped into the Saint Domain. His strength has doubled. Therefore, this old official thinks that the 20,000 heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp is the most suitable to reinforce Bugu City. On one hand, their combat strength is tyrannical, and on the other hand, their marching speed is fast. In the entire empire, which army can be as pure as the Longdan army camp? As he said this, Su Muyin cupped his fists and said respectfully, Your Highness, this official Su Muyin sincerely requests that Your Highness send the Longdan army camp to Bugu City to guard the border. No. Qin Yin blurted out. She and Lin Muyu spent more time apart than together. At this time, she wanted Lin Muyu to go to war. This was something that Qin Yin was absolutely unwilling to do. However, she couldn't say this reason out loud. Tang Lan then said, How about this? Commander, you will lead the Longdan army camp to guard Bugu City, while the Marquis of Pingnan, Xiangyu will lead the elite troops to Iron Blade Pass. Iron Blade Pass is the southern border of Tsungnan Province. It will also face the invasion of the demon race. We cannot slack off. Xiangyu quickly cupped his fists and said, This general is willing to go to war. Lin Muyu sighed lightly. It seemed that she had no choice but to go to war this time. Thus, she cupped her fists and said, Your Highness, I am also willing to go to Bugu City to guard the southern border. Su Muyin raised his head and looked at Qin Yin, nodding slightly. Qin Yin murmured, All right then. 3 days later they set off. That afternoon, Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Feng Shi and the other generals to the weapons division. The moment she entered the weapons division, she saw Qin Xiling greet her with wild joy and said, Commander Yu, the improvement of the arrow boxes has been completed. They can penetrate 40 centimeters of logs. Very good. Lin Muyu nodded and asked, I will be going to war in 3 days. How many of these arrow boxes can you give me? This, the badge of the weapons division's supervisor on Qin Xiling's chest shone with a golden light under the sunlight. He smiled and said, With the manpower of the weapons division and the help of the ironware shop of the Purple Een Flower Chamber of Commerce, we can forge about 100 improved arrow boxes for Commander to use. 100? Lin Muyu muttered, That's not bad. The more the better. We can rush day and night. The more of these arrow boxes there are, the greater my chances. Amen. Qin Xiling smiled and nodded, saying, General Xiang, you just sent someone to place an order. He said he also wants a batch of arrow boxes. Not giving. Lin Muyu said in a low voice. Why should I give them the arrow boxes that my people developed? Prioritize the equipment for the Longdan army camp. Also, can these arrow boxes be taken apart and carried? Yes, Commander. Don't worry. The 20,000 cavalry in the Longdan army camp will have no problem carrying so many arrow boxes. It won't affect the speed of the army. Also, I will prepare enough arrows for you. Good, you've really helped us a lot, Xiling. You're welcome. If I didn't have Commander, I would still be a soldier in Five Valleys City. Haha. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi accompanied Lin Muyu for a full 3 days. They ate together at least every night. 3 days later, Lin Muyu left for war. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi continued to stay in Lanyan City, looking at each other from afar. Chapter 386. Early in the morning, the fog lingered in Lanyan City. Qin Yin accompanied Lin Muyu out of the Zetian Palace under the protection of 4 female officers of Zetian Palace. The battle was imminent. Lin Muyu was dressed in a military uniform. The dark blue Empire's senior military uniform was covered with heavy silver armor. A white cloak was draped over her back, and a silver helmet was tucked under her armpit. She said with a smile, "Xiao Yin, you don't need to send us off. We will march lightly and arrive at Cuckoo City in a day." "Well, you must be careful." Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were full of reluctance. "Don't worry." Lin Muyu was full of confidence. "I have dealt with the demon race. Moreover, the one who occupied the Qinling Mountains was the bold but foolish Lei Chong, not the wise and brave Qianfeng. There is nothing to be afraid of. Instead, you have to pay attention to the situation of the steel wall along the Yidao River, and be on guard against Qianfeng's large-scale attack on Songnan Province from Winterfrost City." "Well, I know." Qin Yin smiled intimately. She walked forward and opened her arms to gently embrace Lin Muyu's neck. She whispered in his ear, "I will miss you." Lin Muyu's heart was pounding as he smelled the girl's delicate fragrance. There were many ministers watching. Behind him, the 3 generals, Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and Feng Shi, laughed. "Commander, when are we leaving?" "Immediately." Lin Muyu looked at Qin Yin awkwardly. Qin Yin left his embrace and smiled with a red face. She said, "I will wait for you in Lanyan City. I look forward to your triumphant return." "Yes." Lin Muyu turned over and mounted the horse. She pulled the reins and said, "Let's go." Wei Chou immediately led hundreds of Longdan Army Camp's elite cavalry, and slowly marched toward the south gate of Lanyan City. Feng Jixing followed with Zhang Wei and Luo Yu, the 2 deputy commanders. Yu Planet Earth Province is Duke Lan's territory. You must be careful when you go there. Feng Jixing said seriously. The guards of Cold Star City and Buga City are all Duke Lan's people. They may not be friendly to you. You have to learn how to protect yourself. Lin Muyu nodded. Feng Jixing pondered for a moment before saying, "I will personally supervise the provisions, equipment, and other supplies of the Longdan Army camp. I will then have Zhang Wei personally lead 5,000 Imperial Guardsmen to transport them. In addition, Luo Yu will lead 10,000 Imperial Guardsmen to the southern border of the Northern Ridge Province. They will be ready to support you at any time. It will only take half a day to reach Buga City from there." "Thank you, Brother Feng. I will be careful." "When you go to Buga City this time, you might encounter demons and people of Iha country. What do you plan to do?" "The demons are our mortal enemies. We must fight them when we meet them. As for Iha country," Lin Muyu's gaze turned cold. Long Qianlin single-handedly caused Brother Chu Huayin's death. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. I saw how Iha country massacred Lanyan City. Don't worry, I know what to do. Then I can rest assured. Feng Jixing looked at him deeply and said, "You never trust the people of Iha country. Never try to become their friend. Kill if you can. Don't be benevolent." "Understood." Lin Muyu smiled. "I am a person who has been sleeping in death for 3 years. I have experienced the pain of losing my family. Don't worry, Lin Muyu is no longer the Lin Muyu of the past. Wait for my triumphant return. I will treat you to a drink." "All right." Feng Jixing didn't send them off after they left the south gate. After all, he was the commander of the Imperial Guardsmen. He couldn't lose his duty. Outside the gate, the 20,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp were ready in the fog. The soldiers' eyes were cold and silent. Their war horses were also very silent. When Lin Muyu rode past, everyone tacitly turned their horses around and galloped away from Lanyan City with their commander. At the rear, the grain convoy dispatched by Minister of War Xue Ling moved slowly. However, Buga City was only 700 miles away from Lanyan City, not as far away as Winterfrost City, so grain wouldn't be too big a problem. In the fog, The official road was full of dense sounds of hooves. The armors and weapons of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp were all brand new. The army that Lin Muyu had spent a lot of money to build could be called the strongest cavalry regiment in the empire. Banners were flying all over the sky. The caravans along the way gave way to the Longdan army camp from a distance. Watching the strong soldiers galloping past, their faces were full of relief and joy. They knew that this was the army of the empire, an army that protected the people and would never be as brutal as the Iha country and the Devil tribe. The massacre in Lanyan City made the people of the city submit to the Qin family. They passed by many villages and small cities along the way. Until it was almost dusk, a towering city stood in the plains under the setting sun, and was surrounded by thousands of villages. It was the capital of the Earth Star province, Cold Star City. The Longdan army camp had galloped for a day and had to rest and resupply outside Cold Star City. Moreover, the letter of Yu had long been sent to Cold Star City, so there were many soldiers of Cold Star City outside the city. Smoke curled up. The Spiritual Fire Division had cooked porridge for the Longdan army camp to rest and eat outside the city. Takshu was fast. Lin Muyu arrived at the city first and ordered, "Dismount and get ready. We will set off in an hour." Yes. Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Feng Shi and the others dismounted one after another and passed down the order. The cavalry of the Longdan army camp stopped at Cold Star City. As soon as the Longdan army camp arrived, the gate of Cold Star City slowly opened, and a row of cavalry galloped in. The leader was about 50 years old with 3 golden stars on his collar. He was also a high-ranking general. His face was covered with scars and he was obviously a person who was good at fighting. After dismounting, he said respectfully, "This general is the governor of Earth Star Province and the commander of Cold Star Army, Tang Shi. Greetings to Commander Yu." This was a member of the Tang family, and also a feudal lord who was arranged by Tang Lan to guard Earth Star Province here. Lin Muyu immediately put the bowl of porridge in her hand on the table and respectfully cupped her fists. Lin Muyu greets Commander Tang Shi. Tang Shi laughed and said, "I have only heard of the fame of the 4 heroes of Lan Yan before. Now that I have seen Commander Yu with my own eyes, I am really shocked. You are really a brave general of our great Qin." "Commander Tang Shi, you flatter me," Lin Muyu said with a smile. "Commander Tang Shi, it is really hard for you to guard Earth Star Province and the Northern Gate for the Empire." "Commander Yu, you are too serious," Tang Shi said. 2 days ago, the demon race broke through the Qinling fortress guarded by Long Qianlin. The Iha nation was defeated, so the entire Qinling Mountains almost became the territory of the demon race. Our scouts reported that the traces of the demon race's armored demon corps have appeared on the Qinling Mountains, less than 50 miles away from Buga City. I have already sent 10,000 elites of the Cold Star Army to guard Buga City. Now that Commander Yu is here, we can ensure that nothing goes wrong." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Commander Tang Shi, how many soldiers are there in Buga City now?" "There are many in the city. Together with the 10,000 people of the Cold Star Army, there are about 20,000 soldiers. Once there is a war, I will dispatch 40,000 elites and 30,000 new soldiers in Cold Star City. Please rest assured, Commander Yu." "How many soldiers do the demon race have?" The Thunder Rush army of the demon race is busy killing the cities in the 3 southern provinces of the Iha nation that are not protected by the steel wall. They have no time to care about the empire. Therefore, Commander Yu, don't worry. They will leave no more than 10,000 armored demons in the Qinling Mountains. That's still a very terrifying force. Lin Muyu nodded and thought for a while, then said, "Commander Tang Shi, if possible, please dispatch another 20,000 soldiers to Buga City to help defend. Once the opportunity is ripe, we will attack Qinling Mountains and take the initiative. Maybe we can also take back the cities adjacent to Qinling Mountains in the Swift White Province." Tang Shi's eyes lit up. "Commander Yu, you want to attack the Iha nation?" "The Iha nation is just a group of traders. Their land belongs to the Empire. We are just taking back the lost land of the Empire. Before I came, Her Highness gave me an order to act according to the circumstances. As long as the conditions permit, we can attack and defend. With that, Lin Muyu took a deep look at Tang Shi and said with a smile, "Although you are Duke Landsman, you are also a soldier of the Empire. I don't think I need to say which is the greater contribution, the defense of the Earth Star Province or the recovery of the lost land plundered by the Iha nation." Tang Shi's eyes lit up. "I am willing to listen to Commander Yu's orders." "Good. Dispatch another 20,000 elites to Buga City. Listen to my orders. Once it is done, I will ask for your credit in front of Her Highness." "Yes." By the time Lin Muyu finished the bowl of porridge on and off, 1 hour had passed. The 20,000 elite cavalrymen in the Longdan army camp were ready. Lin Muyu mounted the horse and gave the order. The army once again set foot on the official road and headed straight for Buga City at the southern border of the empire. More than 2 hours later, a few scouts from Buga City appeared on the official road to welcome them. Not long after, they arrived at Buga City. Buga City was the same as the Five Valleys city. Because of farming and fishing, it was rich and populous. However, it was only a small rich city, and could not be compared to the 7 great cities. It was even inferior to the Cold Star City. The city was not considered too sturdy. Before Lin Muyu entered the city, the Buga City's garrison general had already come out to welcome her. He was still the general of the 7 Sea Cities army. However, he was very polite and did not target her like Tang Lu and Tang Tian. After entering Buga City, Lin Muyu fully took over the defense of the city and all the important political affairs. This time, Qinian asked him to come to Buga City, so he could not return empty-handed. At least, he had to make Earth Star Province submit to the Empress, and not just Tanglan's fief. Late at night, Renbaqian took Wei Chou and Qinian out in plain clothes to inspect the defense of the demon race in the Qinling Mountains. Lei Chong was originally a fool who was brave but not astute. Now this fool brought a group of stupid armor demons into the Iha nation to burn, kill, and loot, and left another group of idiots here to guard the Qinling Mountains. Presumably, this group of idiots would not be too smart. This was a heaven-sent opportunity for Lin Muyu to seize the Qinling Mountains. The 3 of them hid in the bushes and looked into the distance. The flames on the Qinling Mountains were swaying. The encampment of the armored demons was very simple and crude. There were only tents made of grass and rattan. Furthermore, more than half of the armored demons slept in the open air. However, it seemed that there were a lot of troops. Tang Shi's words were not false. They had at least 10,000 armored demons guarding the Qinling Mountains. Big brother, in my opinion. Qin Yan's eyes were full of fighting spirit as he said, "We can send troops to attack the Qinling Mountains at dawn tomorrow. The elites of the Longdan army camp are not afraid of these 10,000 armored demons." "No." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "How about I take down the Qinling Mountains without wasting a single soldier? When I return, I will send light cavalry to provoke them tomorrow, and let the armored demons attack Buga City. I want to test the power of the arrow boxes developed by the weapons department." "Yes." Chapter 387. At night, candlelight gently swayed in the central tent of the Longdan army camp. Wei Chou spread a simple map on the table with fine sweat oozing from his forehead. He said with a smile, "This is the only map we can draw. Commander, you can use it reluctantly. The marks of the demons on the Qinling Mountains have been redrawn." "Yes." Lin Muyu put her hand on the table and said, "Swift White Province and Earth Star Province are on the 2 sides of the Qinling Mountains. This part of the Qinling Mountains is about 200 miles long. The demons won't have too many troops to fight against us." Wei Chou nodded. "The 10,000 demons are scattered at the pass of the Qinling Mountains." "Yes." On the side, Qin Yan held the holy spear that Lin Muyu brought back from the chaotic realm. A trace of worry flashed across his face as he said, "Big brother, even if there are only 10,000 demons, they are armored demons after all. We don't have the Daojiang River as a barrier. Once the armored demons attack the Qinling Mountains, I'm afraid that the heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp won't be able to gain any advantage in the decisive battle on the plains." "Not necessarily." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "In the Battle of Winter Frost City, we didn't know the strength of the armored demons at all. Therefore, we sent the cavalry to fight the armored demons on the plains, which led to the final defeat. The armored demons are strong and their shells are thick. Ordinary swords can hardly cut through them. Moreover, their strength has reached the point where they are not afraid of the cavalry's impact. However, we always neglected one thing. We gave up the advantage that the cavalry should have. What advantage? Fengxi asked in surprise. Lin Wuyu raised the corner of her mouth. Mobility. What is mobility? Wei Chou asked. Lin Wuyu explained. The so-called mobility refers to the ability to move. No matter how fast the armored demons are, they can't outrun our cavalries. We can adopt harassment tactics. All the heavy cavalries should take off their armors and turn into light cavalries. Then they should carry bows and arrows and keep a distance from the armored demons. Then we can keep shooting them with white drill arrows. When the armored demons chase after us, we can send many groups of light cavalries to launch sneak attacks on the armored demons and scatter their forces. Then we can kill these armored demons by using traps and other tactics. Excitement surged onto Qin Yan's face. Big brother, can this kind of battle tactic really work? Yes, but... Lin Wuyu pondered for a second before saying, everything depends on the result of tomorrow's battle. Lei Chang's armored demons corps annihilated the Yangwei Corps of the Empire in Winter Frost City, which is a disgrace to the Empire. At this moment, the armored demons have crossed the Qinling Mountains and forced the rebels of the Iha country to retreat again and again. The armored demons' corps is full of arrogance. We must destroy their spirit in tomorrow's battle. Wei Chou nodded. We will follow your arrangements. Good. Lin Wuyu nodded and said, tomorrow, 5,000 elite cavalries of the Longdan army camp will follow me out of the city to challenge and lead the armored demons to Buga City. Remember to install all the arrow boxes on the city wall in advance. Whether we can defeat the armored demon army tomorrow depends on the arrow boxes. Rest early tonight and start the action tomorrow morning. Yes. The flames in the Longdan army camp were swaying. Everything seemed so quiet. However, everyone knew that there would be another decisive battle with the demon tribe tomorrow. The Iha country was defeated. All the passes in the Qinling Mountains were in the hands of the demon tribe. The Longdan army camp must take back the control of the nearby passes from the demon tribe. Otherwise, the army of over 100,000 armored demons of the Lei Chong Corps would rush into the core area of the empire after slaughtering the Iha country. The next morning, the sun dispelled the fog and the sound of horses galloping could be heard in the forest. Lin Wuyu personally led 5,000 elite cavalrymen of the Courage of Dragon Battalion out of the city and arrived at the foot of the Qinling Mountains. The coniferous pine trees by the road were covered with dew and dripped onto Lin Wuyu's armor. Drops of water burst out and splashed onto Lin Wuyu's face, making him feel a little cold. Further ahead, there was a spacious mountain road leading to the south of the Qinling Mountains. It was the only place where one could climb over the Qinling Mountains. A pitch-black stone fortress was located in the valley. Mozong Pass, the #1 fortress between the Earthly Star province of the Empire and the Swift White province of the Iha country. However, at this moment, Mozong Pass had already fallen into the hands of the demon tribe. In the distance, armored demons holding heavy battle axes patrolled back and forth on the pass. There was also a demon tribe's battle flag on the pass. The flag was painted with two strangely shaped cross longswords. It was called Godsword Flag. It should be the belief of the demon tribe, and probably the reason why the high-level demon tribe were all proficient in swordsmanship. As the horse stepped on the pine leaves, Lin Wuyu looked at the Mozong Pass in the distance and said, "Change to bows and arrows. Shoot at the Mozong Pass from half a mile away from the pass to lure the demon tribe out of the pass to fight. We can't go too fast, we must stick to them at a distance." "Yes, Commander." A group of soldiers of the Longdan army camp hung their spears and other long-handled weapons on the side of their horses. They raised their hands to take out their bows and arrows and followed Lin Wuyu to gallop towards the Mozong Pass on the mountain ridge. On top of the city gate, a group of armored demons had also discovered the traces of the human army. They seemed to be very excited as they roared in the demon language that Wei Qiu could not understand. Wei Qiu could not help but frown. What are these cockroaches shouting? God knows. Get ready to shoot. Lin Muyu opened her hand and raised the precious carving bow on the side of her horse. She put a special black giant arrow on it. Swirling fighting light appeared on her palm, and the power of the overwhelming true dragon yuan fire poured into the giant arrow. With a whoosh, it flew straight towards the pass. The next moment, the giant arrow pierced into the rocks with a pung sound, splashing a cloud of dust. Roar! An armored demon officer looked at the huge arrow inserted into the city wall not far away. Closely after that, he raised his head and looked at the dense heavy cavalries of Dragon Courage Battalion in the distance. At the same time, he couldn't help but raise his battle axe as he roared. F***ck Baina. Commander, what does this demon tribe's language mean? Kill Brazil. Wei Chou asked with a smile after breaking the rope of the demon tribe's flag with one arrow. I don't know. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, it probably means kill our way out of the city, kill their bloody mothers, and dig their ancestral graves. These stinky cockroaches. How dare they dig our ancestral graves? Wei Chou smiled slightly. After we annihilate the demon tribe, we must dig their ancestral graves. An eye for an eye. The surrounding soldiers of the Longdan army camp all burst into laughter. Right at this moment, the heavy iron gate of the Black Pine Pass suddenly rose with a humming sound. In the next moment, numerous armored demons rushed out with blunt and heavy weapons in their hands while roaring, "Kill Brazil!" Some of them even flapped their wings and made short-distance leaps. Indeed, the running speed of armored demons was much faster than that of humans, but it was far slower than that of warhorses. Retreat! Lin Muyu pulled the reins as she urged Snowtreading to turn around and leave. The 5,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp immediately changed from the vanguard to the rear, as they hurriedly returned from the pine woods. However, Wei Chou didn't completely escape. His handsome face was full of killing intent as he ordered, the first team retreat, the second team prepare to shoot. Nearly 300 cavalries of the Longdan army camp immediately stopped their warhorses as they turned around and put arrows on their bows. After a round of fierce shooting, they immediately turned around and left. At the same time, the rear team was ready for another round of shooting. After 2 rounds of shooting, some armored demons who were shot in the eyes and mouths wailed miserably and rolled in the pine woods, which further infuriated the other armored demons. Dong! 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 In the distance, the sound of war drums drifted from the Black Pine Pass. Indeed, these simple-minded armored demon generals didn't know how to lure the enemy at all. Out of fury, they chased after the 5,000 elite cavalries of the Longdan army camp led by Lin Muyu. After getting out of the pine woods, Wei Chou didn't stop the archer cavalry tactic. Instead, he kept following the demons. Although the armored demons didn't kill any soldiers of the Longdan army camp, their eyes were all red as they held their battle axes and ran madly. After chasing for nearly 40 miles, the Cuckoo City had already appeared in front of them. Qin Yan and Fengxi were on the city gate as they shouted, "Commander, hurry up and enter the city." The loud sound of war drums on the Cuckoo City directly attracted the attention of the demon army. A demon general who was running at the very front raised his battle axe and roared, "Kill Brazil!" The sound of horse hooves was dense. The Longdan army camp quickly entered the city. When the last person entered the city, Lin Muyu ordered loudly, "Close the city gate and prepare the arrow boxes. Once the armored demons enter the shooting range, shoot." The gate was closed with a loud bang. Lin Muyu handed the battle horse to a guard and rushed up the city wall with Wei Chou and other generals with a long sword. Looking from afar, the dense armored demon army surrounded them. Wei Chou couldn't help but take a deep breath. "Commander, there are at least 5,000 armored demons. They are going to do it for real." "It doesn't matter. Let them come." Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes and said, "Prepare the arrow boxes." On the city wall, the arrow boxes were placed in a row. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp slowly calibrated the shooting angle, aiming straight at the bottom of the city wall. The shooting from top to bottom would be stronger, and could also greatly increase the penetrating power of the arrow boxes. Roar, roar! Under the city wall, the armored demon army roared and rushed to the city wall. Their way of attacking the city was very simple. They used battle axes to dig the foundation of the city wall. The effect could not be seen in a short time, but after digging for an hour, it would be fatal. Ready, shoot. When the armored demons were about 200 meters away from the city, Lin Muyu ordered decisively. For a moment, hundreds of arrow boxes on the city launched an attack at the same time. Special steel arrows tempered with fire poison shot straight into the distance and penetrated the bodies of the armored demons. As Lin Muyu expected, the powerful penetrating power of the arrow boxes was enough to pierce through the hard armor of the armored demons, and the tempered fire poison could kill the armored demons immediately. In the blink of an eye, a great number of armored demons outside the city gate had died. However, it seemed that these armored demons were unwilling to accept this result. They still attacked the city gate as they hacked the gate with battle axes over and over again. The arrows on the city wall were like rain, all of which were white diamond arrows. The soldiers beside the arrow boxes quickly twisted the wrenches to recharge and reload the arrow boxes. This process was completed by 8 soldiers together. It took about 2 minutes, but it was enough. On the city wall, it was time to perform archery. Wei Chou and the others pulled the bowstrings into a full moon and shot the armored demons that were attacking the city with white diamond arrows again and again. The city gate was covered with countless marks of being hacked by battle axes. It was already a little shaky. Qin Yan couldn't help frowning and said, "Big brother, the city gate is about to be hacked by the armored demons. Should I go?" "Yes, be careful." "Yes." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.